Okay, we're back.
Cool. Okay.
There we are. Okay.
Are we looking at this stream
Yes.
seeing
Yes.
this?
Squad chess. Yep. Yep.
Cool.
We see the error.
Yeah, so what we're doing here, we're console logging what we're getting from when we're trying to create this mock connection.
Uh huh.
Um, I think where we're doing that is actually I added that to the mock. So the mock is just I added
So
I
I
added
still see Chrome.
yes, I know, I know.
Okay. Okay.
We don't need to look at this, but
Okay.
this console log is happening in the mock, and then we're trying to create a mock connection in the web app, and it's failing because of this error.
Right.
And you can see
WebSocket
why.
server is
So
not a constructor. Can we look
right,
at the
so we're trying to
code?
construct a WebSocket server, and
Yeah.
this object, which is the RPC WebSockets object,
Yeah.
does not have uh, anything called web server in it.
Okay.
Basically, it has client and it does not have server.
Okay.
Um,
Can we look at the code where that is happening?
we can, and I can also show you that. Let's change windows. Let's change to. Oh, where's VS Code? Does that not show up in here? That's it. I'm guessing this is VS Code.
Yep.
Yes.
I see
Okay.
it.
Um, I can also show you that when we do if we do the local test in a terminal,
Mm-hmm.
it will have a server object. So
Okay.
I think it has
Okay.
something to do with Webpack,
Okay.
um,
Well,
or
let's
the
take a
way
look.
that Webpack is compiling. You know,
Yeah, I don't have any
um,
context. I don't remember quite how that is all written, so I just
yeah.
have no
So
context right now for the
let's look
conversation.
at the mock.
Yeah.
What is this? What is going on here? VS Code. What?
What are
It's
you
doing this
expecting?
weird thing again. Like this, there's no curation folder anymore. Like, what is VS Code doing?
Is it on an old commit?
It's definitely not. It's just VS Code doing something weird. Yeah, look, like it's
You're
showing
not
these folders that are not
you're
here
not
anymore.
you're not on the video. You're
Right,
not sharing video
I need
anymore.
to put it back
Okay.
on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, VS Code just does some weird stuff that I really don't understand.
Yeah.
Um, like this, so this right here's all our new stuff right in the
Yeah.
packages folder, but
Yeah.
then it's also got curate like this. None of this stuff should be here. None of these folders.
Yeah.
Build, creation, disk,
Yeah.
metastore. So I don't know what that is. That's not in the code. It's VS Store is just keeping it in there in some naive attempts to be helpful.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just
You're
extremely
not
confusing.
helpful. Yeah.
Like I'm sure if I look here, like those folders will not be here. Oh no, they are here now. What is going on? Hello?
I don't see what you're doing. I only see VS Code.
Yeah, whatever. We don't
Yeah.
need to. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
okay, so let's. Here's the mock, right? Um, so we're getting two things from RPC WebSockets, WebSocket server and client. This originally had server here,
Okay.
but I wanted to just check if that was even existing. So instead, I just took that out and I just said, hey, let's just console log that and see what we're getting.
Okay.
And what we're getting is the thing we just looked at in the browser that does not have anything that will come up if you use .server.
Right. 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 Right.
But if you do it in a terminal, it will come up, which we can look at if you'd like and if that's helpful. I just need to switch the window to the terminal.
So can we go through that again? So this is requiring RPC WebSockets, and we're naming that WebSocket server, and then we're requiring it again and pulling the client off and calling that
Yes.
WebSocket.
And
Okay.
this originally was this. That's the way the code is written.
I see. Yeah.
So that we're getting a server and a client.
Yeah.
This is a little bit funny, the syntax, to not have client here, but this is what you did here is the way that this is the way their example works.
Yeah.
RPC WebSockets example.
Right.
So I assume they have a reason for that. It's not a huge deal either way, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is what we were doing. And then later down in the code, maybe a couple times, but certainly down here, we are we're creating the client, right? So the WebSocket is the client object.
Yep.
And here we're creating the server, and that should be the server object, and it
Yep.
just takes a port and a host, and that should be how it works. But instead, we get this. It is not a constructor error because
It's undefined.
there doesn't seem to be. Yeah, exactly. There doesn't seem to be anything false in the object.
But that is only happening on the.
It's only happening in the browser.
In the browser.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, I think it makes sense. I think you're right about Webpack. I think the problem is we're trying to build the client and the server in the same file. So we need to separate the server code. Well, yeah, we need to run the node server is not intended to run in a web browser.
Right.
Right? So the node server is just intended to run as a node process, and so it makes sense that it works in the
in a local environment.
But not in a web,
but
or not on the web page.
That does make sense.
So we probably just need to factor those things apart. Basically,
and just run a local server.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So where's the server part? Let's find the server part.
You mean where it's used?
Yeah, just like where it's made and.
I think it's just this, but let's just check. Yeah, just this, I think.
Okay. And then that
It's just this one line.
server mock metastore.server equals server. Server.register, all of that stuff we need to keep together. I think this whole function mock connection. Let's go.
So
down.
I mean, maybe if that's the problem, then all we need to do, right, is take this out of here, run it somewhere else. Run it outside of the browser, and then point this at the right place locally.
Right. Oh, there's there's Microsoft trying to be helpful again.
Yeah. What the heck is that? I don't know.
Yeah. All of this server.register calls, those all have to be there too.
Right. Yeah.
So what we need to do is that line 138. There's no reason that needs to be in here. Because
you don't think we can just no, yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the server has to register all these methods.
Yeah, so I guess it's everything but this, basically.
Yeah. So the client code just has to make that new WebSocket on its own, and the way that they coordinate is through that address.
Yeah.
So mock.js stays basically what it is. We take out the mock metastore client from any where are we using this in the web page?
We're not really using it for anything. All I'm doing so far is importing Metastore.
I see.
And then trying to make a connection.
Right. So I see. So you're saying metastore.websocket connection mock.
which I think
Gotcha.
is the way that it seemed that
Yeah,
was the way
it
intended
is,
way.
but I only tested it all with like a command line client, and it just like made the
Right.
server
Yeah.
right there, and then we had a
Yeah.
client for it, and it
Exactly.
was awesome. But
Yeah.
what I need to do, we need to go to that metastore.websocket connection method in the metastore API and change the way that works.
Yeah. Um, which we can do. So that's this.
Yeah. So what I kind of tried to do is like, right. So if it's a mock connection, we use the mock metastore, and so the way I have it is this mock metastore call starts the server, but if that call is happening in a browser, it doesn't work.
Right.
Like that's not how it's designed. Um, so
I feel like there's a number of different ways we could handle this.
yeah,
Um, from the perspective of like, what do we want this to do? It
yeah,
would be nice if we didn't have to make people run a little local server,
yeah,
um, because we're certainly not going to want people to have to do that in any alpha release, because
right.
that's more or less as annoying as just running holochain.
Mm. it's
Uh,
it's like it's much less annoying.
well, then doing it properly, but I mean, just running a little local holochain
No,
is
no, it's less annoying because you don't have to install
yes, yes. It's okay, fine.
Nixos.
It's
You
less
don't
annoying.
have
It's less
to
annoying.
install Rust. You don't have to
Yes.
compile a giant, huge thing that takes forever and
Yeah,
has
in a
can be
very
buggy.
zoomed out sense, it's they're similar in that
Yes,
we would have to be asking people in order to use the app to go into their command
yes.
line and run a command
It would
in
be
order to
it would
go to the
be
URL or whatever.
it would be great to rewrite the mock metastore so that it could run on
Right.
in the
So
browser. Yeah,
yeah. So is there a way we can just mock the entire
yeah, yeah.
interface
Right,
itself and just be storing the information in the browser and pretend like it's a server?
right. Yes, certainly. I
Because
think it's a
that's I feel like that's probably the way to go, for this, because we're really not trying to store. I mean, it's
right,
metadata by design, but also this
right,
particular metadata is nothing. There's not going to be big amounts of data.
right. So, so the way I did it was I used RPC WebSockets to run
Yeah.
a real WebSocket server, but that won't work.
Or create a real WebSocket connection to
Yes,
a not
a
to a
separate
dummy
process.
server, sort of. Yeah.
Oh, it's a real server. It's
But
just
it's
a real WebSocket
whatever the
server.
right
It's
word
just
is.
in
Yeah.
memory. It's
Yeah.
just keeping track of the state in memory. Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than in a
Yeah. Your own
decentralized.
local
Yeah,
server.
yeah. Um, but so right. So what we need to do is basically just factor out this WebSocket server.
Right.
Keep the interface the same, but take out just like delete line 1.
Yeah.
Line 2 is okay.
Is it gonna function without the server though? Like, can we mock the rest of what it wants?
It won't function if I think so. I think we can.
Okay.
We're going to give it the same methods with the same signatures. We're just not going to do any JSON RPC communication.
Yeah. So this, I don't know what this is
So
actually.
this is configuration.
Yeah.
So you take a name and a default value, and it checks for that name in the environment.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like this can stay the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
This
the
is
same.
all gonna
So
stay
the
the
only
same.
thing it changes is where you have
Stay the
server
same.
dot
This should stay the same.
probably.
So I think
Yeah,
everything up until the
the
bottom.
implementations all stay the same. Yeah.
These should all stay the same. This
Yep.
stays the same.
It's just the routing to the
Same.
implementations.
So it's all this stuff down here.
Yep.
So we're not going to be doing this.
Right. Definitely just yeah. So server is not going to be a WebSocket server.
Yeah.
It's going to be
If we're using the other end of the WebSocket, we'd still do want this address probably. Or N address.
So we're not using the. I don't think we're using the other end of the WebSocket.
Ah, well then we might as well not
Yeah.
have this, right?
Yeah. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
We can take that out too. So we can probably also take out the host and port, but maybe we shouldn't quite yet.
Yeah. So let's think about what.
So we gotta
All we
go.
need is an object that can do these things, right?
Yep. Yep. So the client code will call. Can we go to the client code and just see what it's going to do with the thing we give it?
This is what you mean.
Yeah.
Right?
So connection.call. So it's going to call.
I don't think it.
Yeah.
It is going to call, but I don't think that's what all the calls are hidden inside the other functions.
Yes, but we're mocking.
Okay, that's not what you were.
We're mocking we're mocking the connection, right? Squad.connection. Yes. So the client code is going to use the call method of whatever we give it. So we have to write a call method that takes a string and an object.
Right.
Yep. And we only have to worry about the string info/instances and the string call. Because those are the only things we support. So we can go back to mock.js, and server is going to be an object with a property call that's a function. Call is like.
You just do that, can't, right?
I don't know. I think we want to. I wouldn't define the function right in here. I would just reference it. So like handle call or something.
You want to call it handle call?
No, we need to call the thing we expose call, because our code is already going to call. But what that maps to is handle call.
Why not just call it call?
Nope. Just call. We need to say handle call, and we're gonna write the handle call function next. Yeah.
Why have different names?
Just to so that we can talk about it without saying call. But just to keep them separate in our minds, I think, because handle call is gonna take a string that is call. You know what I mean?
It's gonna take a string that is call?
Yes.
I thought this is just mocking this, and it's just gonna take this.
Nope. We're mocking one level deeper. We're not mocking function call. We're mocking connection.call.
Ah, right. Okay.
So that handle call would in this case be passed info instances empty object.
Maybe we should call it that then. I don't know.
It's fine with me. Connection call.
Or WebSocket call.
Sure. Yep. All right. So let's on like line 103. Let's start constant WebSocket call function WS call.
Let's just how the other one looks. So
and
this needs to take
the method string.
Yeah, method name and then an object, which is
params.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that. And then really, so here's let's see. So when we say call zone method inputs, right? So it's always going to be, there's only two things we need to care about, and that's when the string is info instances, and that's when the string is call.
Right.
And when the string
I'm not
is,
sure we even need this, because we can. This is always the same, I think.
Yes. Yep.
So I feel like we can just have that. Can't we just avoid ever making an info instances function and just have that be some constant? Or just have it always plug in the same thing?
I mean, if
Because there is no actual
this,
instance, so we can just say like, hey, it's the same instance every time.
there's gonna be when it's holochain though.
That's true.
So this has to work for both the mock and for holochain.
This has to work for both of them. What do you mean?
This code here, this async function call on line 20, that whole function has to work when it's backed by holochain and when it's backed by the mock.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So basically we need to keep this exactly the same because we built this against holochain and we can't change this. So we have to sort of plug into the right shape in our mock, which means we're going to be accepting info instances and need to return an instance info that will do this correctly. And it doesn't matter what the idea is, but
yeah. Okay.
So we can go back to the mock.js, and when the method is, I think we can just kind of do like a switch statement. It's like when it's. Oh well, actually, hold on.
Do you want to do a case statement?
We might not even need to do that. I see. Hold on.
What?
I'm trying to look at what we did below. So server.register info instances, server.register call.
So you made a big, I don't know where info instances is, but you made this whole thing.
Yeah. So server.register info instances just returns a constant.
Right.
So it's a function that takes params and it returns a constant. So so we can basically say, yeah, I think we need a switch statement on method. And let's look that up, because I always have to look up the JavaScript switch. And yep, that's right. So case.
Is it case, and then it's like this is what it would equal?
Nope. No parentheses. No nothing. Just the string. Info instances. Yep.
And then colon.
And then a colon, and then
block.
Nope.
Whatever.
It's weird. Yeah, you'd expect to have the parentheses, but no parentheses needed. Just go one line down, and then that. I think. Yeah, just the line on 117, return ID mock instance ID. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I don't totally understand how this is. What are we doing? Like, I understand that. So this call is gonna be called here.
Yep. And
what this was doing before was registering that function so that something could call it. Are we still going to be doing some version of this?
So this mock connection, server.register is just saying when somebody calls info instances with some parameters, call this function on those parameters and return the result. So now what we're saying is when somebody calls WS call with this on 106 with this method and some params, return ID mock instance ID.
Yeah. So this line just replaces this.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So like we won't
that
need
case
to
exactly. Yes.
do any registration.
We are. Yeah. We're replacing all of the register methods.
Yeah. Okay.
In this case statement. Yep. No comma.
No comma.
Yep, and I would put it on its own line, and I would put a break semicolon afterwards, just for consistency.
Break semicolon?
Yep.
You just mean a semicolon.
Nope. Break. The word break. on line 108. Break. Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess the
just
semicolon
for
isn't
safety's
needed.
sake. I mean, it is returning
Yeah, just
something.
it is just for safety's sake. So in case it's just like if you don't have that break and we change that from a return to something else, it's just these case statements are very easy to get wrong without the breaks. So it's just like a bit of pedancy that can help save you.
I see. Right. So this was the reason to have the two different names, because this is the other call function.
Right.
Yeah, which really would be confusing. Okay, so now we just have to go through and mock all these, right?
Well, so I mean, I think in the case of call,
really just this one now. Yeah.
We just say on line 126, see line 126, there's that destructuring assignment. Right. So we want to do the same destructuring assignment.
Yeah.
So we
just want this function?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think so. But it's not going to be a function. It's going to be the contents of the function in the as the WS call. So the first line will be exactly what's on line 126, except for the sort of closing parentheses and the opening curly bracket, and then equals params, and that'll do the same destructuring.
What? I guess it can be a constant, probably.
Yeah, I think you just.
Is that how you do it? Like, that's not how you do it.
Yep.
That's how you do it. That doesn't. No, it doesn't like.
I think you say let or const or something, but I think that's
like this.
Yep. Except.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And then tab that in, so that we see that it's inside that case. Yep.
Now we want the rest of this stuff, right?
Now we want the rest of it. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Throw, that should be fine. That should work.
Yep.
That should work. That should mock zone.
Yep.
Right. Okay, yeah, sure.
Zone.
There's only one mock zone right now, right? So that's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
Then. Yep. Then. Yeah, that looks right to me.
Cool.
Do you want to do this again?
Yes.
That's it, I think.
Yep, I think so. And then we can take out both of those server.register calls. Yep.
And also this. Or no, we want that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, actually, do we? We've got
mock metastore server equals server. Mock metastore client equals.
I don't think we want that.
Yeah.
We just want
actually
to export
no. This is the mock metastore client. So const client equals call WS call.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
And we don't have a server at all.
Right.
So we take.
And then we're just returning that, and we don't need this either.
Yep. So
yeah. So
really, mock connection returns call WS call.
Yeah, just this, right?
Yeah, but we have to call that mock connection.
We have to call that mock connection.
It has to be named mock connection. So when somebody says mock connection, yeah, they get that.
Well, because so again, people aren't actually saying mock connection, right? It's.
Well, we are in a certain place.
We're just doing it.
In mock metastore there. Yeah. And we can refactor that
WebSocket connection
of mock. They get the mock metastore. Yeah. Yep, I think that should work once we get through any bugs we've introduced.
Wait, what? So what is going on here exactly? Squad connection equals.
Yeah.
But then we're returning an object that has.
So that's mock metastore, and mock metastore. Um, there's a function mock metastore, and it's not in here. Where is it in
here?
Where is it imported? Hold on. Go up.
I don't know.
So mock metastore is mock.mock connection. So that
right,
mock
yeah,
metastore
there
is
you
that
go.
mock connection. It's a little bit of renaming here and there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe
So
not
we
needed.
are just getting.
Yep.
We're just getting this
Yep.
part of it. Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
so that's what we want then.
And then I'm pretty sure the only thing that's ever called on that is call. Connection.call.
I think so.
Call. Yep.
Yeah, because it just calls this, and then it calls using the result from that. It
Yep.
calls whatever.
Makes params for the next one.
Yep.
Yep.
All of that. All right, we've got that. Got all of these things. That's all up here. Okay, let's see what this does.
Oh, hey, we've got someone in the chat. I wasn't paying
nice.
attention. Tama Conti B 29 at.
Wow.
It actually kind of feels.
Are you a bot?
Yeah, kind of feels
Science and
like
technology is legendary.
GPT-2.
What's going on here? Module parse failed, expecting Unicode escape sequence at line 110.
All right.
Oh, look at that. There you go. So it's just a weird little thing going on there. Is it watching? It is watching. Okay, that seems to have not had an error. So let me just go see if this did anything different, and then if it did, we can look at it. Oh, now we're getting type error. Mock metastore is not a function.
Okay.
Index.
9. Yeah, let's go look at that, because I think we might just need to go. Let's see, 9. Mock metastore. So yeah. So we want to go
mock
into
is not a function.
mock.js, and mock connection is not just the object; it's a function that returns that object. So on line 127, you can just say. Do you see what it has to be? So that can be the open close parens, arrow, that. Yep.
Wait, is that?
That should do it. Yeah. That like one line shorthand. I think
I've
works.
just never seen it color anything this way before, so I just like that's weird looking.
Yeah, that might.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I think this is wrong. I think it needs to be that or something like. Because this is no longer an object, right? Now it's a block. Now it thinks it's the return block of the function.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know how to fix that. It's like it wants this. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I think that's what it wants.
Yep.
Which is weird that it won't let me do it like this, but it won't for some reason.
Yep. I don't know.
Does not think that is good syntax. There's probably a slightly prettier way of setting this up, but
yeah.
Let's see what we're getting now.
I think we're.
Hey. Sorry. You'll be excited too in a second.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey.
We got our boy back.
Nice.
So that is, I mean, obviously that's not actually doing anything in the app. That just means that we loaded the mock connection and it didn't.
Right.
It didn't break anything.
Yeah.
So now we can.
Right.
Now we can actually start trying to do anything at
something
all
with that mock connection.
The metastore.
Yeah. Cool. I think this is a good spot to take a quick break.
Yeah, that was the only debugging.
Yep.
Active debugging thing to do. So I think that makes sense, and we can come back with whatever we'll be doing next.
Yep, making progress. I think making progress on this is the way to go. Like start looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a bunch of to-dos that are very actionable and not gigantic. So those all feel like good things to work on.
Cool. We'll come look at that next.
Okay, so quick water, bathroom break, or whatever.
Yep.
And we'll be back in a few minutes.
Very good. All right, we're back. We've got looking at creative design doc for Squad Chess. And what we kind of just unlocked with that debugging was Squad Chess loads components and formats from the SDK, the Mach Metastore. I'm into either one. I think a little engineering for getting components and showing them from the SDK would be fun. Although the design doc might let us know how we want to list those and show them. But we can do.
But we don't have to. We don't have to deal
Yeah.
with that yet, right?
We can just
we don't have to do anything with the UI.
Right. We can get them all
get
just
it.
showing up in the console.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Because
So
we don't even have. I'm not sure we even have the infrastructure right now to put any in there, like to like preload some.
Oh
into
no,
the mock.
I think we do, and I think the makefile will do that.
It will probably, I guess.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know exactly how, so let's figure it out.
Yeah. We'll look through that whole pipeline.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't think it'll take too long. So
Nope. I like it.
might as well start with there since we've got the Metastore in there.
Yep.
So yeah, let's switch this back to the code. Screen share options. Change windows. Change back to that one. Yes.
Cool.
All right, so here we are. Shouldn't really need to be looking at that anymore, or this, but we do want to keep them around. Here's our app with this in it.
Cool.
We can take a look at the makefile.
Yeah. So if Mach Metastore is true, we run the start Mach Metastore JS. So
this is what we're
that's
looking at?
interesting. Yeah. So start Mach Metastore JS is not.
Is that existing?
I mean, it does exist,
Oh yeah, there it is, right there.
but it starts the server, right?
Oh,
so
right.
it just like requires
Which
the Mach connection,
no
which
longer
no
a
longer
thing.
starts anything.
Right.
So we
that's
have
not the thing to have
broken
anymore.
the sort of default.
Well, I mean, in this case, right, all we need to do is say if Mach Metastore true, don't do anything. Right? Don't try to start holochain. But also don't start a server. Just you don't have to do anything.
Right. And then we also, I mean, yeah, that's definitely true. So let's start there. Just delete that and say something like echo using Mach Metastore.
How are you doing?
Yeah, just like
Strings usually here, single quotes.
that. I think so. I'm not sure you even need quotes, but yeah, that should work.
Do you just do it this way?
It's whatever Shell wants.
Well, let's find out. Yep, I don't think you need quotes.
Cool. Okay. So that means that there's a part where
Get rid of this file as well, right? Just
yes,
delete it.
yep. And now on line 18, we're going to go into Squad Games Web and run load dev defs, which will now fail because there's no Metastore WebSocket server there to accept the dev defs. I think what we actually want to do now I think what we want to do now is take out load dev defs also. Just take out the call to it. Keep it around because for the regular Metastore, we may want to have it, but we may not.
This is for both, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're not we're not doing anything with the real Metastore these days, so I'm
Yes, at the moment.
kind of fine breaking that for now. Maybe just comment it out.
Okay.
Um,
I forget how to do that.
yeah, that works. And then I think we actually have a task to make it read from a file.
Make it read from a.
Make the mock read from a file.
Yeah. Yes. Mock Metastore can read from and write to a text file.
Right. So if we can do that, if we can implement that, which I think we can probably do pretty quick, then the dev-defs can just be like in a file, and
Right. So right now
it'll just read them.
Right now it's a bunch of definitions, but it's also.
Yeah, we want to
loading
ignore this for now.
Yeah, which we don't need.
Yeah, we want to ignore that for now. We don't want a script load dev-defs. We want a JSON file with just the dev-defs JSON.
Yeah. So where should we put that file?
Probably.
I'd say we should put it in the Metastore somewhere.
I think we should put it in. Well, let's see. Let's see where we want it, where it's gonna be read from.
Because I'm imagining, you might be. Yeah, like if you're mocking the connection and you want to see what happens, you might be doing that in the game. You might be doing that in the game store.
Yeah.
You might be doing it in lots of different apps.
I think the problem is this is all now running in the browser.
Yes.
And the browser won't have access to that file system to just read a file.
That's true.
That's all server stuff. So we would need it to be like packaged with Webpack.
Well, is that just going to be a problem in general then? Because the reason we wanted to do this, read and write from a text to and from a text file, was because that's going to eventually help with the alpha, right?
Right.
And if that's not going to do that, and we're just going to have to package it into the browser anyway.
Well, the people running the alpha are going to be running Webpack.
Right, but why package a thing into? You're just saying a JSON, a starting JSON.
Yeah. Well, you package it so that it gets into the browser and is accessible there.
Okay,
yeah. So I think what we need to do, I think that means we need to do it in
But that wouldn't get saved in any way, right? I mean, it would during the session, but between sessions.
Right. Yeah. So we would get the read from, but we wouldn't get the write to a text file.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, okay. So if we wanted to do that, a slightly awkward way of doing it would be to just have a button in the UI that was loading and saving a JSON or whatever locally, and not in Webpack, not in the browser.
I'm not sure the browser can reach out of the browser and onto your file system.
No, there's tons of websites that do that. There must be a way.
Yeah, I've never done it. Let's see. Local.
Though, although come to think of it, I'm not sure that it can then look at that file without a server in between.
Right. I think that's might be true.
Yeah, like you're uploading it and then it's putting it on its server and then it's reading from its server. It's not reading from your text file.
Right. Right. So all we really want is right now is some demo components.
Yes,
and we
that's
want
all we want right now.
and we want those in the mock Metastore. So let's just basically copy these constants into mock.js.
I think that makes sense.
And then we can tackle that reading and writing stuff separately.
Shall we make another?
Well, let's look at where they would need to be. So They would go in the
Not always here.
definitions. The
Yes,
the
I was gonna say
the
it's their
definitions.
definitions.
Yep.
Let's see. Whatever I just did is probably all messed up. So let's fix it.
Well, those are
Yes, it is all messed
those
up.
are all like const games equals, so we don't want to.
So
We don't want all that.
it's not right at the moment, but we'll fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what's going on here?
You need a comma after the closing bracket on 25.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to get to that. Those are all going to be changing, but I'm just trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the. I guess it just needs this.
Sure.
Is that
I think.
fine? It's a little wonky, but maybe this as well.
Sure.
No, I don't like that because that's not good for this first thing. Oh, no, actually, it's fine because we can do. Oops. Okay, now I'm confused again. This is that, so this one. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, I like what I do with
that.
these things is I just
Should be that.
I put it as far on a new line as possible and just like be happy with the verbosity. It's just a lot easier to read.
As far on a new line as possible and be happy with it.
So everything on its own line. Like on 28, I would put component down to 29.
Yeah.
And I start from one end too. And now 30 gets tabbed in again.
Yep.
31 gets tabbed in. 32, 33, yeah. Yep. Yep. And then, so these like pairs, since 32 is an open, like that pair is on the same line, I keep the closing pair on the same line. Yeah, like that. And then
Should you do this on a new line?
I
as
do
well?
like to have the like
Or
line
that.
37. Yeah, be like that. And then, yeah. Well, that would go one in. So that it's 38 should tab one in so that it's the same as 29. So that's the same indentation as 29, if that makes sense.
I know. I'm just
Okay.
figuring out what the hell's going on. All of this. I see.
Yep.
Then this is here.
Mm-hmm.
This is here. This is another line. That's all correct at the moment. This is not. Oh, wait, is it? No, that all needs to go in. This needs to go.
Yep. There we go.
Okay, I think it's finally acceptable.
It is acceptable. I think
This one's fine.
that's acceptable too. Yep.
Okay. We have definitions now.
You know, I actually do like the way the game is done. See the line game where the open and both of those opens are on the same line?
Right. You mean these two?
Yeah. So 27 would go up to 26.
Yeah.
And then
over
everything
again.
would come in one. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. That's nice.
Shouldn't wait. This feels like it's not in the right spot now to me.
No,
Doesn't even work.
that's right. So because that's closing. So 35.
It's not closing this though. It's still part of
No,
that,
but
and
it's
on the same.
still on the same line. So if you were to just have the one component in there, on 35 you would have the closing bracket right after it.
Yeah, no, that works for me. But the fact that this straight bracket is still open makes me feel like this stuff should all be in one more.
I don't.
I know that's weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right either way.
Well, see on 53.
This feels like it's on the wrong line to me.
Line
Or on the
53.
wrong- It feels like it should be.
But look at line 53. That's on the right line, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's
So-
just these two feel like they should be indented one more.
Right.
and then that messes everything
But
else up.
but the closing of the component on 53 should be on the same level as the closing of any other component. And the one on 53 is clearly right because that's the level
Yeah, no,
you
no,
want.
I get it. It's just that's
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
well,
Sure.
I mean, whatever. I don't care that much. It's just too much data structure stuff.
Yep.
To get it to look.
You can spend your whole career on it.
Anyway, so where's this getting used? We probably should have checked this before we did all that.
Yes, definitely.
So that's supposed to be addresses.
Right. So entry address of definition. So entry address hashes the stringify of the entry. So we just need to put an entry address. Yeah. So actually,
I think these should be elsewhere, and then they should be entered.
Here's what you could do. You could map entry address across all of the lists. If that makes sense.
When?
Just right here in line, like right there. So like the game at the end of the games, the closing array bracket. The closing array bracket on 25 hit just before the comma. Hit dot map.
Is this even supposed to have games in it? I don't think it is.
Oh, I guess not.
Yeah, I think it's just supposed to be a list of addresses and definitions.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. The easiest thing might be to just take this stuff out and then write a little bit of code that puts the right things in the right places in catalogs and definitions.
Well, so it's the component, like we just combine those lists. Take out component : and games :
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. So that's an array.
There. Is that right now? No, it's just this that's wrong.
We need an array. It's still an array.
It is still supposed to be an array.
So on 16, I would open the array.
We're not even going to have this in here, though, are we?
Sure. That's true. So that thing... Yeah.
Just put it here.
Put it here. Yep. So those are the definitions.
Yep. So it's valid syntax at the moment. So we need to just plug this into whatever the function's called, submit definition or something like create definition.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. JSON stringify definition address equals entry address definition. Well, are these the right? I think this is the right format, and that's why it was working before. And I assume that.
Yep.
I assume that. All
so
we need to do
here you're gonna at that list. So for that list, at the end, just say dot map or dot for each. Yep.
Yeah, because I don't think we need to output anything.
No, we
just
don't.
Need to
You're
put
right.
them into here.
You're right.
Definition. And I think all we want to do is create definition.
Create definition. Right? Yep. It needs to be, so see the destructuring that it's going to do?
Yeah. It needs to be in an object.
But it needs to say definition : D.
All right, yeah. Oh, we can fix that by doing this.
Yep.
That should
do it.
Preload all of this.
Yes.
Into the
yes. Well, into the definitions. And yeah, I think create definition also does.
I think get definition will then get it. Like I think that this is the state. You know, this stuff is the meta store.
I think create definition will also do the catalog as well. All I'm looking for.
I assume it will. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Great. I think that's it.
Yeah. So let's see. Now we basically want to see if is this the right folder. No, that's not the right file. This is the right file. Now we want to see if we can call, get definition basically. Actually, we should not do get definition specifically. We should do get catalog. get all definitions of type or one of these. Get
Yeah,
all
yeah.
definitions from catalog. That's what
Yeah.
we should do. I don't remember what the
I think I remember what those are. Yeah.
Metastore catalog.
And then it's what, catalog type. So let's
Yeah,
say
catalog type and catalog name. I just don't remember what the right.
Yeah. So capital type would be like capital game. Capital G game.
String, right?
Yeah, but it needs to have again. It's going to
Oh,
destructure
right.
this, so it has to be
this is
catalog
an
type.
object.
Yeah. Type colon-game, and then catalog name would be.
I think it's like game catalog.
Game catalog. Yep. Space.
Is it underscore?
Nope. Space.
Oh, right. Of course, it's a string. Well, let's just see if
Let's
it
try
does
it.
anything,
Yep.
and probably will be broken, and then we'll go from there.
I bet we need to make one of the functions async. But let's see what it does.
Cannot access create definition before initialization. Whoa, that's a weird one. What is initialization here?
Can I look at what you're seeing?
Oh, you can't see it, right? Change windows. There you go. Is that visible? Is that readable, I should say?
The bitrate is bad. There we go. Reference error. Cannot access create definition.
So it's on line.
Yeah.
I always forget. I think this means line 52, and that's like the character number or something like that.
Yeah.
So
create whatever create definition. All right, you got to switch back.
Yeah. It's the for each that we were doing.
Okay.
Let me switch back.
I see. Right, you can't create definition before initialization.
Yeah, I think we just need to put this at the bottom of the document. I think that's
Maybe.
I'm just
Or
gonna put this down here and see if it
inside
fixes it.
something.
Possibly inside something, but
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is just a JavaScript, like, for some reason it's not loading the functions.
Yeah, that could be.
I feel like
That could
JavaScript normally does load functions first.
Right.
But maybe it's not for some reason here. Yes, okay, now we're getting, that did fix the error. Now we're getting a new error, which I will switch to show you. This is not a good flow.
No.
I mean, I'm glad I can choose, but this is obviously not.
And since we're doing everything with logs, we can also just do this in the command line too.
That's true.
Uncut in promise error invalid type. Okay. As get catalog links.
Yeah. So this is our Metastore object, and we're getting a pending promise. So we need to await, basically.
Right. I think so. But the promise was.
Actually, I don't know. What is the error?
The promise is rejected. Invalid type object.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an additional. Invalid type object as get catalog links. So it's probably just that one of the strings is wrong, or they're in the wrong order, or something like that.
Yeah. Get definitions from catalog. Yeah. Let's walk through that code 66. And see what it's doing.
Switch back. Did I? Oh, that's not the right thing. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. So here we are. We're back. This is 66. This is the error that we got.
Okay. So this is an error that I wrote in because the catalog type is not in catalogs.
So let's look at what catalog types are getting created.
Yeah, it's just the type catalog, right? So game catalog. Do we say games? Did we pluralize it?
Maybe. Where is this? For very type in catalogs. No, I mean, no, it doesn't look like it.
I mean, in our call. So our call is wrong.
Let's see if I thought we said game. Yeah, we said game.
Game catalog. Catalog name.
Catalogs. Type in definition. Type.
Right.
The definitions don't have type, do they? Do they? I don't
They
think
do.
they do.
I mean, they have.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do.
Have.
But it's Rochambeau, not game.
Well, so that's different. The type is component there because it's this is the Rust serialization of the type.
Yeah, but
so
where's that? I mean, I don't see how that's happening here.
Well, look at 34 for var type in catalogs.
Right.
And so if you look at catalogs, that'll be game format component, right?
Yeah.
And then we go down. If game in definition, right? So if there's the key game in the definition, then it's the game type.
Right. So if game in definition, then
catalogs of game catalog includes address. If it doesn't include the address, push the address on. This is building the catalog when we are calling create definition.
Includes address, then push address. Okay, well.
Where's the error again?
The error is on 66.
Okay, so the error is when we call it. So we're making it correctly.
It's when we're doing get catalog links.
Yep.
So
if not catalog type in catalogs.
Name.
So catalog type should be game.
Yeah, catalog type. And let's see what it is. Catalog type is game.
Yep. So that should be in catalogs.
So something's going wrong.
But it's saying it's not. So
shall we do a console log here?
Just console log, catalog type, catalog name, and catalogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's look at that.
Okay, here we go.
Catalog type is an object.
Weird.
Yep. Okay. So we're just calling it wrong. We're getting tripped up on destructuring syntax.
Yeah, somewhere.
Because catalog name is coming in undefined. Catalog type is coming in as the object. Catalog type, catalog name.
Right.
All
right, I'm gonna switch back.
Yeah, shouldn't.
Code.
So it's going to destructure the input. So it's expecting a single object input with catalog type and catalog name.
And we're calling get definition from catalog and get catalog links here.
So that should be destructuring correctly. Let's now console log catalog type catalog name
here somewhere.
Yep. So it's that's destructuring and then restructuring, right? So
yeah. Yep, so it's already wrong there. It's giving us our input as catalog type is the object with catalog type and catalog name. All right. And then catalog name is undefined. So we get something weird.
Let's go back to our call and see if we can see what's wrong.
Definitions from catalog. That doesn't look weird to me. And what is it supposed to look like? Catalog type, catalog name.
Yeah, that's
catalog type, catalog name.
What happens if we pass in just game?
That's really weird, man.
What happens if we just pass in game, comma, game catalog?
Just like this.
Yeah.
That does seem like what it's wanting somehow.
That
but
shouldn't. I don't
get it.
Oh, well, hold on. Are we? I think we might be looking at the wrong implementation. Are we looking at metastore.get definitions from catalog?
No, we're not. We're looking at them. We're looking at, oh my God. This is, this is mock, right? So this is
Right.
mocking the,
Metastore.get definitions from catalog.
which is not this,
Get
right?
definitions.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Yeah, this is
definitions
the
from
problem,
catalog is
right? This
that.
is,
Right.
yeah.
And then
So-
that is going to call ours. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so this worked. I think
Good.
it's it's just we still need to wait to get the actual data, but
Yep.
but this did not throw an error. So let's get rid of those console logs.
Yep.
Okay, so that seems to work. Let's just see if we can get the data out. Which means we need to put this in a function, or I just need to do then.
Yeah. And take the surrounding
That's-
console log out.
Yeah, that's wonky. Yep, there we go.
Cool.
I'll show it to you so you can feel satisfied as well.
We like that.
And to the stream, of course.
Of course.
So here's our
Very nice. And it's
Here's our
a
results.
singleton list of games.
array
Yep.
of games.
Great.
We've got one game, which is the one that is in our dummy data there.
Great. So here's a question.
Mhm.
Say there's a Metastore up and it's been going for a week and we've got 3 or 4 active members and they're all writing games and writing components and writing stuff. We don't want anything other than the auto chess or the squad chess
Right.
game and components for squad chess and formats for squad chess.
Right. So this is not a total answer, but
Yeah,
in this data, am I looking at the wrong thing again? Mock. Yeah. In this data, right, we have.
I'm looking at your browser.
Right. Blah, 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 blah. Windows application. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Maybe there's a way to. No, there's probably not a way to bind that to like a single key in Discord. I would be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so in this data we do have this type, right?
Yep. Right. Yep.
Where we've been putting in Rochambeau. So
Right.
it feels like that's the opportunity to do it somehow.
Yep.
The other one is to have some kind of like, make a new catalog and get from that catalog.
Right. A
Which
type.
I don't actually think we have a function for creating a new catalog at the moment.
No. A type
the zone.
catalog. Yeah. Oh, we also need to make a mock. We need to mock up a format.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. None of this is the right mock data for squad chess.
Right.
This is Rochambeau.
Right. But it being in here makes a good point. The Metastore doesn't know what game is accessing it. We don't have a way for the game
Yes.
to say,
Yeah.
just give me stuff for me.
Right. And my guess is we weren't thinking about that so much because we were thinking about squad games.
Yep.
Which just wanted to get all the components and all the games, and then, then it would have no problem sorting them by all the Rochambeau ones after that.
Right.
And then no reason to, that's fine for
Right.
UI to do that. Whereas we don't want squad chess to have to get all of the components in the entire system and then search through them for the squad chess ones
Right.
or whatever.
And this is going to be one of the hard problems that we haven't solved yet, but we're mocking first. So we're mocking the interface first. So a game developer, like we're taking the role of a game developer developing squad chess. As we're building squad chess, what functionality from the Metastore do we want? We want to say, give me formats for my game. I mean, that's a piece of functionality we definitely want.
Right. It's a hard problem, not because it's really hard to even come up with any idea of a way of doing it, but
Nope.
because there's lots of ways of doing it, and it's hard to know what would be a good way of doing it.
Right.
So one of the ways could be to let people create catalogs and then
Yep.
just hard code a bunch of catalogs into your game, and
Or
then
or to like we have this type thing in everything. Can we
Mhm.
actually get a format in so that we can look at what a format has? Because I wonder if a
I don't,
format
do we
has
have
a type.
do we have a formatted format like this somewhere?
Yeah, it should be in
Test maybe.
no, in load dev defs.
Where's that? That's down here. Is
It goes. It has.
it's
We
down
have
here
code to
somewhere.
go through and make it. Yeah. Um,
Right, it's this.
yeah.
Yeah, so we have to. Okay, we do have to do a little bit more work to.
Yeah. Right,
make a
because we have to
format.
we have to have addresses to make the format.
Yeah.
Component adders though is await promises.all components.map async d to return definition.
Right. So it's getting the addresses as returns from.
Yep.
From submitting the components.
Yep.
Definition from. What is this?
Squad SDK definition.
That's not a thing, is it?
I think it is. That's Metastore. That's not SDK.
Right. I just don't remember what that is. What is this? Oh, that's one of those weird leftover folders. What is definition? So this is. I think you added this. I don't remember this being here.
It's an idempotent-ish way to call new definition with bond. So, yeah. So it checks to see if the definition. It's like get or create and then get.
I see.
Like if it's there, it just gets it. If it's not there, it creates it and gets it.
Right. Okay, cool. Anyway, so now we know what that is. But anyway, so load dev defs is doing it by first creating all the definitions.
Yep.
And then just getting the addresses returned.
Yep.
We could do that inside mock.js.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Because we're creating them there, and then we can.
So in this case, we do want to do map, right?
So that's going to give us the address of games and components, and that's not what we want.
It's going to give us the address of games and components?
Because there's a game in this list.
That's true, yeah.
So no, I think we still want to for each that. But then if we go into components or catalogs, the catalogs will have it. So if we go to the catalogs, if we just go to the component catalog and just take that list is just right there. So we can make a format. So now we can say create definition, a format with all of the components.
Are the catalogs lists of addresses?
Yes. Catalogs are lists of addresses. Yep.
Right. Okay. I see then. Right. Okay. Then we want to do something like create definition.
Yep.
Definition.
Yep.
What does it look like?
Capital format. So the top level key is capital format. And then another object. And then that has a
Isn't there a
name?
Yeah, here there's a name and components.
Name and components.
Name.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
Name.
Standard.
Components.
Catalogs.
Catalogs. Name.
No, components. Component.
Oh, right. I just want to, what is it actually called?
Capital component.
Component.
Dot.
Oh, and then component.
you can't do dot because it's
You
got
can't
to,
do dot that. Yeah.
but you can index it by that string.
What the-
Yep.
Which is an array, right?
Which is the exact array we want. Yep.
Yeah, that's an array. Okay.
So now this is a little weird. It's probably fine, but just to point out, this is a reference to that component catalog. So if we add things to the component catalog, this format grows, and that could actually be some weird.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So we might want to copy this.
I don't know how to do that. Is there an
I'm
easy way to
looking
do
it
that?
up.
I know there is a way to do that. I've looked this
Copy a
up.
JavaScript array. Easy way to clone a JavaScript array. Oh yeah. So dot slice. The ES6 way is the spreader object, which we might want to try.
Sure.
So instead of dot slice, you do like around the thing that we have now, catalogs component catalog. You do another set of square brackets around that whole thing.
Oh, and you do the dot 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 thing.
Dot in front. Yep.
Yeah. It's like fill an array with everything from this array.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That seems like a better. I mean, that's a better mock, right? Because it
much better mock. Yeah, because
it's not going to be dynamic.
Because it right. That the reference would give it slightly different behavior, and we'd forget about it, and it would start to matter, and we'd go, what the fuck is going on?
And let's do this again. Get. I guess we just have to do the same thing again, but for formats.
Yep.
It's still the best way to do that. So I'll just check if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did work. We got a format called standard with three addresses in it.
Cool.
Under components. So yep, that works the way we thought it would.
Great.
So yeah, so what we want to happen here is we want Squad Chest to be able to, we want people using Squad Chest to be able to submit components and load, or submit definitions and load definitions from the Metastore.
Yep.
We're going to use the mock Metastore right now, but we still want them to be able to do that. Submitting is easy, right? We could do that right now if we wanted to.
Yep.
And so it seems like actually loading is the question now. Like, how do we know what to tell it to load?
Right. So basically, the Metastore is missing a feature. We've got typed catalogs, which are all fine and good, but eventually they could have hundreds of thousands of irrelevant entries. Yeah. 99% of them are going to be irrelevant for any given game. So I think what we want is to maybe decide to make a feature that sets up another automatic catalog. The type catalog. God, type is overused here too.
Yeah, I think. I mean, can we just call it everything? I mean, everything's. I was gonna say, can we just call it like a game catalog?
I know.
There is already a game catalog. But it's like game variable, right? Like it's like we want you to be able to say like, okay, here's your game. Now you're gonna get a Squad Chess component catalog and a Squad Chess format catalog.
Right. So not the game catalog,
like Chess game catalog, but I don't. Maybe there's some weird game that we want that. But
so if we look at the definitions, let's look at the definitions for format and for component. So component, these.
What do you mean? Look at them.
Just look at them. Yeah. So these have component has a type.
Yes.
So the type of component is the game that it works with.
Right. Although I think I don't think we actually had much of a super specific thing in mind for this. I think we put it in there because we thought, hey, let's put this, but people could put anything here or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean, so one could write, uh, one could take our chess game, and I think we are actually going to do this.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, we're making squad chess, and I think we should release squad chess as a full thing.
Yeah,
Give it a game definition and sell it, right? However we're selling it,
right.
whatever that means.
Oh, I think I see where you're going
And
here.
then we're also going to make a game called automatic chess
Yeah,
that will use the exact same components and the exact same
right.
component library. So there's two games that work with the same type of component.
Yeah,
So this is the chess type component, and there's
right.
squad chess and there's automatic chess that both use the chess type component.
Right. So which is nice because it's an elegant way to let them both use the same set of components,
Right.
but not nice because it introduces another term
Right.
that someone needs to right like so okay, so there's this game and there's components I can use in this game and then
Yeah.
there's the same for every game.
Yeah.
But that there's this hidden set of categories for components
Yeah.
that doesn't map one to one to the games
Right.
because some components get used
Right.
for more than one game,
Right.
but we still want a way to sort through the components
Yes.
and not have it just be a total free for all nonsense thing.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I do think that's one option. I also think it's not a terrible option to just let people create catalogs all the time, and so
Oh,
have
totally.
your game
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
create catalogs that are named after it, and then of course
Sure.
those catalogs can be linked to the same components.
Sure. So the game creates a catalog that uh, just like keeps track of every definition that was created through the game interface.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's not bad. We have someone in chat asking if we can please help them with something.
Huh.
What's your question, Clay? For
Hello, Clay.
we'll help if we can, and if it's relevant.
Yeah.
Um,
We have a very limited set of skills, though. Like,
we do.
I bought a domain from OVH. How can I make a subdomain with the IP plus port?
I think honestly, if you Google that exact question
Yeah.
from OVH, I'm not familiar with OVH, and making a subdomain with the IP import. Yeah,
That makes sense,
I
but
think-
I do think you're going to get a faster answer from Google than you will from
yeah.
us, unfortunately.
I
mean, we'll just have to Google it.
yeah, we'll have to Google it. And I've never really run a game server, so hopefully you can figure it out. But
Sounds
yeah,
like an issue someone must have run into before, though.
yeah. OVH, just type like, no, you're not. OVH.
What's that quote I heard today? Masters have failed more than beginners have ever tried.
Yep.
Which is just a fancy way of saying like everybody's stupid, really.
Yep.
So don't worry about it.
Until they try a bunch and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google OVH, subdomain, IP plus port.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. Whoa.
Whoa. All right. Where are we? Type.
Yes.
So
so we've got these various options.
Yep.
Create new catalogs, have a type.
Yep.
So here's this is maybe not 100% relevant, but now I'm imagining you're launching your new game. You want to use, if
Mhm.
there is such a thing, chess type components, right? Because you've designed your game to use components like that. If there's no chess type, how do you how do you how do you start out telling your game what to look at? You have to do
Right.
something like look at another game that uses chess type components and then copy their catalog or something like that.
Right, which is why I think, I mean, honestly, I think you build a game and choose what catalog or what component type that game works with.
Right. That's a very nice flow for someone who's launching their new game.
Yeah.
Right. If there is a type that already
Right,
exists
right,
that
right,
you know
right.
the name of,
Right.
you can start by saying, load up all the formats of that type.
Yep.
and give those as options to people
Yep.
or whatever. Or load up all the components for
Yep.
people to build formats.
So
I
here,
don't like the fact that it adds complexity in terms of like now you have to be managing this whole other list, which is a list of types.
so I
Um,
think we already make the sort of like type level all components, all games, all formats catalogs. I think we can
yes.
automatically manage component type catalogs too.
Right. I guess it's just another kind of catalog.
Yep. It's just another kind of catalog. I think we start by
Yeah,
doing it
that seems
automatically,
fine.
and then obviously doing it automatically doesn't keep anyone from keeping us from implementing
Yeah, that seems fine then, because it's
users.
really just, so for example, you might say my game's gonna maintain two catalogs with its components. It's going to Squad Chess is gonna whenever someone creates a component, add it to Squad Chess components catalog
Right.
and also chess components catalog,
Yep.
the chess type
Yep. Yep.
components,
Yep.
um,
So the big
which is the
question.
one that's intended for other chess games to use.
Yep. So I think the biggest question here is about namespaces.
I
So
agree.
like
I think we should reserve.
whoever's first to chess just gets chess.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I think there should be some naming convention for type
Yes.
for the type ones because those
Yes.
are the ones that are going to be shared between. I mean, there probably has to be uniqueness requirement
Yes.
for all catalogs, like
Yes.
a uniqueness name, a unique name.
Yep.
I mean, there is a unique address for all of them already, but
Yep.
that doesn't help anybody.
So I think I I actually think the way this will end up working is some game will be first for a component type.
Right.
And I think we should use that game's address in the automatic catalog name. I know it's ugly, but UIs can, if we do it consistently, UIs can pull that out or like not display it. But it's a little bit like the ugliness of the Discord names. You know how we all have that like number next to us?
Right.
That's for namespacing. That's for letting people
Yeah.
use the same name. So then different people can actually all call their type chess, and then the
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
the word chess isn't stolen. It's like the chess type that this game uses, or like invented,
Yeah,
or the chess type
it's
that this
the
game
direction that I see that Discord thing taking
invented.
namespace is
Mhm.
just saying it's better to just do this. It's better to just have a hidden real name that just has a big long number in it or whatever that we're
Yep.
just gonna handle making it unique than
Yep.
it is to force our entire user base to start playing that game of like keep trying things till you find something unique.
Right. Well, and then
um,
also like buy it from me because I've got it. I mean,
right, and just that whole like competition over
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
sometimes that's a nice thing, right?
yeah.
Sometimes you want like people paying more for the fancy domain name, right? But like
This is not one of
a
those
lot of the
things.
time you just want people to
Yeah,
write what they
yeah,
want to call it.
yeah. This is plumbing.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, if we want to do that, then that would mean diving back into the Rust code,
well, we could
which is we could do.
we
But
could. I think
yeah,
diving into the Rust code is not. I think we should prototype it in the mock, work through the
oh, right, of
like how
course.
it works,
Yeah.
where it's easy to change, and then update the Rust to implement what the mock has done.
Right. Of course, we're not using the Rust at all right now, so
Right. Oh,
we'll
that
be
said, I
sticking
found this is maybe a little dangerous
with.
for my time, but I found a Rust WASM web framework component.
Oh,
Yeah,
I saw that. I've heard of that. I looked at it before.
yeah,
I mean, I think it's really cool.
yeah,
I doubt that it's a good thing to try to build like it's WASM. Like you should use
yeah,
it to like do something intense.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's where you're gonna get the returns. Unlike
Well, like
and
web
before
games.
that, I just like right, but not like chess.
Right. No. Sure. Sure.
No,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
not like chess
No.
necessarily. But yeah, like web games, just not this
Yeah.
one. I doubt it would be worth us
The only
messing with it
like
for chess.
the thing that feels nice is like, oh, the Squad can be a Rust project,
Right.
and
Yeah.
instead of a JavaScript project, because I think I might like Rust projects better than JavaScript projects. But
And it wouldn't surprise me that much if in a few years
yeah,
it starts looking like, yeah, if you just, like actually one of the main selling points of WASM is no longer like you can fucking simulate the loop
simulate the what? Yeah, you're cutting out. I hope this isn't my
language that you want.
is my internet junking out again?
Oh, I can hear you,
Okay.
but maybe it did for a second
Yeah,
there.
just a real little second. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I was just saying that it wouldn't surprise me if in a few years more people are using something like you for that reason,
Yeah.
just because they like Rust and they
Yeah.
want to organize the project that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas right now, I think we're still at a stage where
Yeah.
WASM is annoying enough to get
Yeah.
going
Yeah. Yeah.
that you really want to do it if you need the performance.
Yeah, and that's why I said this is probably a red herring or whatever.
But I look forward to if we get there to the time when it's just a legit option to say like, yeah, I'm going to build my Rust app.
It's just a Rust app.
I'm going to build my web app in Rust because I like.
Right.
I think it's a better way of managing my data. I think it already has types in it, and I don't have to deal with the whole mess that is the JavaScript stack.
The other nice thing about that is that Rust is you can compile Rust for Mac, for Windows, for Linux, for the web. And so it's one project, and I'm sure
for mobile, and for mobile, although I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, not yet, probably, but all of that I think will be coming, right? And so Rust being like a binary compiled language. It's cross-platform, and we could use the same code that we have for the web interface of Squad for a native Squad app. That would be super sweet.
That is attractive for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's also something that's very attractive to game developers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, let's actually think about that more. Maybe once we've done the alpha release of Squad Chess.
Yep.
Because if it's interesting to game developers, it's that we have a reason to want to demo it, right?
Yep.
So.
Yep.
We'll
go through the same thing that Holochain is going through right now. Hey, let's just rewrite it in Rust.
Well, luckily the metastore is already going to be written.
Right.
That, it would just be the front end stuff, which
might actually be a lot bigger.
I guess actually it would be. I mean, the SDK is still going to be
pretty small.
I mean, I don't know how to make an SDK in Rust. Like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
I guess that's
have to learn it. Okay. So the way I like to think through these things is like, okay, as a game developer here, I want to make a call and say, so I want a list of all of the formats for my game. I want to start with formats, right? It's like we've already chosen a game. We're playing Squad Chess. The next question is, what format do you want to play?
Yeah, basically, I think the only reason you would want to grab components is for people that are building components, right?
Or building formats.
People that are building formats.
Yep.
Which people will do the whole way.
Yep.
But is especially important at the very beginning,
yep.
right? When there are no formats.
Yep.
Or there are no popular formats.
Yep.
So let's start with formats.
Let's start with formats. Yeah. So in the AppSpec game, let's just write the call we want to make and then implement it.
Sure. Yeah. So it's going to follow the same pattern, right? And it's just going to be like, we can decide what we think it should be called, get formats. I mean, it's just get definitions from catalog still, I think. The catalog is not format catalog.
Right. It's long, ugly address catalog. And I would like to hide that. Like,
right. Exactly. What we want to do here is, oh my God, what is this doing? There we go. We want to do one of these, right? Like Squad Chess address.
Sure.
Format catalog or whatever.
Right.
Whatever it ends up being
Right.
called. And then this is maybe this is like a config variable.
Right. I would much rather make a. I would much rather not have to know how we're dealing with the namespaces
Okay.
as a developer, and say, I am getting formats for this game.
Okay.
Um, and if I'm making a game with formats from some other game, then I have to go get that game's definition and say, give me formats for that game.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But how are you avoiding dealing with the namespace problem there, though?
We're doing that on their behalf in the Metastore API SDK.
But they still need something to tell us which game
They need to know, yeah,
to hook up.
yeah. So
And that has to be unique still,
right.
right?
Is getting the game's address the easiest thing?
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. Like,
Or is getting the
okay,
game's
I'm building a
definition
new chess
easiest?
game.
Yeah.
I want to use all the components from Squad Chess.
Yeah.
So I need Squad Chess's address. How do what is the best way for me to get that as a developer?
Right. Or do I just get is it easier to know the definition or to know the address? It's maybe easier to know the address. Because when you're
I
in
think
Squad,
so,
when you're in
yeah.
Squad at the game store and you're looking around, the address is in the address bar somewhere, right? Or like it's available.
We can make it available.
Yeah,
It can be like a developer thing. I mean,
Yeah.
the definition, all the individual bits of information from the definition are more easily available, right? Like
Yeah.
the name of the game, like the URL, you go to launch it or whatever, like all that stuff.
Right.
It's like it's very tangible, but
Right.
to turn that into the right format is a pain in the butt unless we just give it to you anyway, and then we might as well just give you the address.
Right. So I think what I want is metastore.get formats for game, or get game formats, and then just pass in the game address. I don't have to know
Game formats. Do you want to have like? So that would mean we'd want a separate function for every component or every definition type. You want to do it that way?
Yeah, so we would have a get game formats and get game components. Yep.
Right. And potentially get game whatever else types of definitions might get.
Right, get game modes,
get game
or
mechanics or modes.
Yeah, if we end up doing that. Yep.
Yeah.
So let's sort out get game formats and then just Squad Chess address.
Yeah. I think that this is potentially another reason to, or rather another way of attacking this problem is using a game result definition, where you can say, let me just go look at, I want to use all the components that this game uses. Let me just go look at their game results and look at all the components they've been using or whatever.
Yeah, if you're looking up game results for a game, you're looking it up by that game's address.
Right.
Oh, and you don't need any of the string interpolation stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there we are. That's nice.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, we could. I don't know exactly what the best way of getting this address would be, but at the very least, we could have like in our own interface, just have a button that says like show address. Or something.
Yeah. Or like we could even like generate this kind of code for them and say, put this if you need the game. Here's the documentation. You go find this address, and
right.
That's how you get it. Yeah. But at some level, we haven't built this yet because we're starting with inside a single game. But we're gonna have some like search games or some functionality for finding games, and that will offer addresses.
Yeah, and some of that should be done in the Metastore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
or at least some of it should be done before the
Right.
front end.
Right. I mean,
It's asking a lot of the front end if there's many components or games.
we're gonna say something like metastore dot get top 10 games.
Right. And that's something that you could use to like usually when you think of a search, you think of a big paginated list, right?
Yep.
And this would let you only have to do that a page at a time if you wanted to, or
Right.
however many pages you wanted at a time.
Yep.
Get top X games or whatever.
Right. Get page 700 of the best game list.
Right. It would be something like get top games, and it would take in a starting point and an ending point.
Yep.
Something like that.
A lot of APIs will do, will have a default page size, and then you'll say the page offset. So if you don't pass anything in, you just get the default page size, the first page. If you put in an offset of 20, you get the default size 20th page, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, so we need to add. There's too many files called index.
Yeah. Yep.
We need to add a function called getGameFormats.
Yep.
And we might as well add components while we're doing that.
Sure. And we can.
So the first place to add that is in this definition zone, I think. In the mock zones definition zone.
Let's see. Is this gonna go all the way into holochain? I think it might. Certainly creating the catalogs will. I think we can implement it all in catalogs.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I think we can do it with catalog names.
So
right?
we can do this. We can do this in the SDK.
Yeah, we can do it in the SDK.
We will have to add a new automatic catalog to the Metastore, but we can do everything else in the SDK. Right, because right now the Metastore is creating the type-based catalogs automatically, but get all of these Zome methods. We don't need to add a Zome method.
Yeah.
Because get definitions from catalog, we just have to know what catalog name to make. And we have to modify create definition to also create that automatic catalog.
Yeah. And that means that we need to change the data signature for formats, because right now formats have nothing but name and components in them.
Oh, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think
no one's going to compete with that namespace. But what we also need to do is components.
Well, it would just mean the format needs to have like a game field inside of it, for example, so that we know which catalog to add it to.
Yeah, the format needs a type also. So the component needs a type and the format needs a type. And the format's type would be for a game, and the format's type would have only components of that type.
Maybe we can change that type to something having to do with catalogs, because if basically the function of that data field is saying which catalogs should this be automatically added to on creation.
Right. That's actually a good point. We don't need to keep track of those linking, like the type field of a component right now is like a reference to a game.
But it's not a reference in any kind of formal sense. It's just like a.
And catalogs are actually designed to maintain those references.
Right. Catalogs are the formal link.
Yeah. So actually, I like that a lot. And we're not using type for anything yet.
I don't think so, yeah.
So let's just take it out.
Except all the other ways that we're using type in others.
Right. But what
confusing.
Right. But what it does is it lets us.
We can change the name.
it lets us take another like instance of that name out of the bucket of confusion.
Right. Exactly.
So let's go through
My real motivation.
all of our mock
Yeah.
things.
So
Just take
instead
the
of
type out.
type,
There's just
I
nothing.
mean, the
Just take
obvious
it out.
one would be call it catalogs.
No, take it out. It doesn't need
Okay.
anything.
Well then,
Yeah, just take the row out.
well, okay. So my question then is,
Yeah.
how do I know when I'm creating the definition
Yeah.
what catalog to add this to?
Right.
Either it should be in here, or we need to just add an extra input for the
To the function.
function.
Yeah, the function will take care of it.
Fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The create function will take care of it, and we'll have that information, but it doesn't ever have to get stored forever on people's computers in the definition.
Yeah.
Right. All of that metadata will happen in the links.
Yeah, which I think can be, if I'm remembering right, they're always one-way links, right? The
I think so.
catalogs have, catalogs are connected to other things, but
Yep.
those other things, like the component definition won't know which catalogs it's in.
Right.
Other words.
Right.
And I don't think that's a I don't think there's a reason we would need it to.
Nope.
Right. You would.
I don't think so.
That's not the intention here. The intention is, if I want to use chess components, I know that I can go to the chess components catalog rather than saying, oh, here's a component, let me figure out what catalogs it's in and check what is in those catalogs. Or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Does game have a type also?
Yes.
But we need that because that's the launcher
that is
type.
Being used for things.
So I think we should rename that launcher type. But I think we're using it and we're like referencing it in other code. So let's just add.
So let's not do that here.
But let's add either a GitHub issue or something for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or to do in the
Well, I think we should add both, but I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Actually, no. Let's just put it in GitHub because this is not the place that
we're gonna find
it makes sense to put that to do anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll just add that to GitHub real quick. Should I do an issue or?
Yeah, I think an issue is
probably
good.
An issue.
Rename game.type underscore to launcher like launcher type or something.
Yeah, I think either launcher or launcher underscore type.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. Rename game.type underscore to game.launcher underscore type in Metastore.
Yep.
Okay, that's in there.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. So moving on from that for now.
Yep.
We've now gotten rid of all the types. So I think the next thing to do here would be to say, okay, so how does the create definition function change to deal with this?
Right. So create definition now only takes a definition.
Right. But right now it only takes definition. Now it needs to also take maybe catalogs, something like that.
Maybe.
Something that indicates all the catalogs you want to add the definition to, right? Right now it's just checking.
Right. So there's two ways we could do this. One is what we've done before for the game type, or like the definition type catalogs, which is you don't get to decide whether or not you end up in this catalog. You just do. And you have to give me, the definition has to have a type. We're going to make a catalog for that.
But I mean, they're going to get to. There's no way for us to tell people what to put into this function, and this function can't see anything that we don't put into it.
Sure we can. We can tell it has to have a game address that's an actual game address, and we can validate.
But they could still put in some other game address there.
Right, but then there would be in the wrong catalog.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, isn't that the same thing? Like they're still choosing.
Right.
I'm not saying the user.
Right. No. But the
game would.
The question.
I don't think this is something the user would put in. I think this is something the UI will do without the user knowing about it.
Right.
Basically, I'm just saying, like, you might. The only reason I wrote catalogs was because I thought maybe
We could add a bunch
Some,
of them. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, sometimes
yeah,
you might say, you know what, I
yeah,
want to add this to squad chess components and chess components, you
yeah.
know, but
So the
we
so
don't
the
want to force
question
people to do
the
that.
question here is, do we want some definitions to not have, like, say somebody makes a bunch of squad chess definitions,
Right.
and then somebody else writes another SDK and writes a bunch of squad chess definitions that aren't in that catalog because they didn't put the catalogs. They didn't put that
Right.
in the list, or they misspelled it
Yeah.
and they put it in a different catalog,
Yeah.
right? So I think expanding to just an arbitrary list of other catalogs to go in makes sense. But I don't think that's what we're implementing now. I think what we're implementing now is we're saying every single definition getting created needs to have a game that it's associated with.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
Unless it's a game. And then it's associated with itself. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that's fine. I just think that why not let it be associated with more than one game?
Sure. Sure. So then we can say games.
Yeah, sure. That's
Because that way we don't have to come up with the right catalog name like the catalog format every time. We just put in the
yeah.
addresses
I
of
was
the games.
imagining. Yeah, I was imagining that to be a list of game addresses.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Not
that's
catalog names.
not catalog names.
Right,
No.
right, right, right. So
I guess
game
it would have to be
addresses.
catalog addresses even. But yeah,
Yeah.
just game names. Yeah, and in the future, if we want people to be able to create like totally custom catalogs, like there totally might be an important role for that.
Yep.
But that's not playing a role in anything we're imagining
Yeah.
right now. That's like a content creator thing or
Yeah.
something like,
Ninja's favorite games.
right, yeah, exactly, or something like,
But then
like
anybody.
Giant Bomb's
Right.
best games of the decade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
click
But
here
then
if you want
anybody
to see
could
them.
put things in there too because it's open. It's all open.
Right, and so then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
is there, can only some people add to that? Like that's definitely a feature for once this is a super popular
Yep.
system. So
Yep.
hopefully we'll get there one day, but
Yep.
that's not worried
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
about. Okay, so games, it's an array of game addresses.
Yep.
And
So then.
so right now this code is adding the thing to catalog, but it's doing it in this other specific way.
It's just the type
We
catalog.
still want this to happen, right?
Yep.
We're not saying it shouldn't do this,
Right.
But I'm not sure how we can reuse this to do it.
So we don't want to change this one, because this
Right. No, we want this to still do what it's
still
doing.
do that. Yep.
But I was just trying to think to myself, is there some way we can just stick this in since this is a section where we're already adding to
Yes.
catalogs? But
Yes.
I don't really see. Where
So
that goes.
after the break, that if I see
So actually, yeah. So this is saying for type in catalogs, and then if type in definition.
Right.
And then if type is in definition, we want to add it to the catalog of that type.
and then we're done.
But then and this makes sense to me, right? Like, what is the automatic catalog name we generate using these game addresses? It's probably like game address formats or whatever, or game address components.
Game address formats and game address components. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not
Yep.
just the game address. So we do want to do it in here, right? Like somewhere here or something.
For type in catalogs. If
Right, because
type
this
in
is the
definition.
section
Right,
of
right,
code
right,
that
right.
knows, like,
Once-
okay, you've submitted
right.
a game, and that is one of our catalogs.
Yep.
So it's a valid thing, and now we can use that to construct
If
the
you
fact that we know game or whatever. We know the type of the definition,
Right.
means we can now construct the right game catalogs.
Right. So
The
if
right names.
the only exception here is that if type is game, we don't want to do anything.
Right. Maybe someday that will be a useful thing for some kind of meta game thing.
To have
that,
a
like does things with other games. I don't know exactly, but
yeah.
but for now,
But that
make
means
sense.
that every game would just be in a catalog of one.
yeah, maybe that's a job for
Something else.
custom catalogs.
Yeah, something else. So if type and definition.
So wait, what is this actually? What is this break doing here?
So the break.
That's breaking this for.
Breaking out of the for loop, right? Once, like, if it's a game and the game is
So it only
first,
does it
we
once,
don't. We're not going to check if type in definitions for.
So we can leave the break.
Yeah,
I think we want to go before the break. I don't know what this type identified is. Oh, this is just for error. This is just error. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's fine. So then I think we want to do here. We want to say if type.
Type is not equal to game.
Oh right, we don't need to do it this way. Like that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a little clumsy, but let's. But that's why this is a prototype.
It is a little bit. Yeah, it is a little bit.
But that's what prototyping is all about.
This is just a mock anyway. Yep. But we should actually also be commenting this stuff.
Yep.
Also got a hashtag correct Jesse's spelling.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are adding definition to the proper game catalog.
Yep.
Essentially.
Yep. I would say I would even take that out of parentheses because
sure.
It's either a list of one or a list of zero or a list of many, but it's all games.
Right. Yep. If type is not equal game, then so we need to construct the catalog name, right?
Yep.
Actually, let's just type out catalog.
Yeah.
Cat name sounds like a real thing.
Yep.
Cat. Why are we naming a cat here? So what are we going to call it? Just so actually we need to do a for here.
Yep.
I guess we can't. It's an array, right? What's the best way to do it? I guess for each. Games.
Yeah, game stuff for each. Address.
Yep. Get this in there. Equals.
Address.
And then
type.
And then catalog.
Sure.
I mean, maybe don't even.
We've been doing that. I mean,
redundant,
yeah, it is.
We have been doing it. So, and then we just want to. And then we just want to do this, right? Catalogs
of type.
Right. So we want to. Is this going to work? If no, not of type, right? Of catalog name.
Nope. Needs to be of type first. So the catalogs
right.
is doubly nested. Yeah.
Yeah. Now catalog name.
Catalog name. Yep.
So if this may not exist yet, right? So
right.
we need to do a, if it doesn't exist, create it thing.
Right.
Is there an efficient way to do that, or just?
There is. Let's see. Right, because we're not going to know the address. So let me look that up. Let's see. Let's see if exists JavaScript. So there's going to be like an if then shorthand.
Yeah.
Conditionary ternary operator.
Oh, is it just the?
Yeah, question mark.
Just this thing?
Yeah.
Does that exist in JavaScript? I'm forgetting now.
Yes, it does. So the catalog name, catalogs of type of catalog name equals, and this is going to be awkward.
Like this kind of equals.
Yep. And then catalogs type catalog name question mark.
Oh, okay. I think I see what we're doing here. This is definitely going to be more than one line now.
Right.
And if it does, then we want to push.
Right. So I
And if
think
it
let's not
doesn't,
try to
we
do this on
wanna-
one line.
I
Yeah.
mean, we could try if we set this to a variable, maybe it would fit
Yeah.
on one line.
I think it's not worth it. So just like if.
It might be worth it actually, because we're gonna have to write it out this many times anyway.
That's fair.
Basically. So let's see what it looks like.
Catalog.
Uh, yeah, catalog equals. Although actually, is that gonna throw if it doesn't exist?
No, let's just.
No, I don't think
It's
so,
going to be
right?
undefined.
Yeah. Although maybe this will throw if it's undefined.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe whatever. Let's just see what happens.
Let's try it. I'm also not positive you can run code in there. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah, these are expressions, not.
Maybe you'd have to do this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. No, this
Yeah,
is
I
not
don't
going to
know if
work.
it's
So what it's going to set is catalog equal to none or undefined, because the result of catalog.push, it doesn't return anything, right? And so what
Right.
this expression is going to evaluate to the return value of that push. So this is not what we want to do.
We don't need this anyway, right? This is fine.
Sure,
this is
that's
fine,
fair.
I
That's
think.
fair. Yep.
Yeah. Catalog equals.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. Well, that looks strange to me, but let's.
It does look really weird.
Yeah,
I think it would be fine to just put a normal friggin' if statement.
That's
here.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if catalog.
Yeah, I think you just do it like that, right? Oh, I guess you need
Yep.
the parentheses. Oh my god. Pop-ups everywhere. I guess we do need an else.
Yep.
As well.
Catalog equals address. Yep. Yep. Much nicer.
That's more normal looking.
Yep.
I think it was like Ruby or something that I used to see all the lots of if-thens in that.
Oh yeah, Ruby loves the
one-liner.
one-liner. Yeah.
Show
how clever you
Is
are.
that all we want this to do?
I think so.
I think so.
Yep.
Right. Get there.
Yep.
As long as the type is not game, then for each of the games, we want to take that address, construct the correct catalog name, grab the catalog. If it exists, push to it. If it doesn't exist, actually, I wonder if this is going to work.
That will, yeah. Yeah, because it'll be
Weird.
undefined.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done anything like that, but it's still a reference to this, right?
Catalog can't be const.
Oh, right.
Because the
That's
name
definitely
catalog, that has to be let. Yeah.
But even if this is undefined, it's going to still be a reference to here, and this is still going to set this. That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I mean, we're in JavaScript, so roll the
I
dice.
think so. Yeah. Okay, let's go with it for now.
If it's not, like, writing it all out is not so bad in that form.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well in that case, so let's try this out. Let's assume it's going to work.
Okay.
In order to check, we just need to do what we're already doing, but we need to look at one of these catalogs.
Yep. Yep. Right. Yep.
Oh, actually, no. We also need to change all our calls to create definition to include game.
Right.
addresses.
Yes.
Except for games.
Right. Where we want to.
So we need to separate out we need to separate this one now. Right, we need to submit the game first so that we can submit that address inside the other ones.
Right.
That's fine.
Right. Yep. That's fine.
Should I just do this as well? It seems silly, but
No, you should not do that. You should just call the function
okay.
that you were going to map into it. Yeah, just call the function.
Oh, right, of course.
Create definition.
Create definition. Oh, that's all I need to do.
Yep.
Oh, it's not all I need to do, actually. We do also need to include one of those. Is this how you do this, or do you put it on another line, or what?
I would do it that way. That looks fine.
Fine.
I think we should, let's take it out and let's just make games default to empty array.
Default. You just mean like?
No. In the create definition implementation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Where is it?
Yeah, equals empty array.
Does that work even inside the destructuring like
I
that?
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's not yelling at us, so I see.
So then also I think what we want to do is we want to say it should be an error. Like that gives the user a gun to shoot themselves in the foot and forget to get into catalogs. So if
we only wanted to throw an error if it's not a game.
If it's not a game and games is empty, it's an error.
So I think
so at the
earliest place we can do that is here, I think, right?
Yes. But let's instead move our new stuff
We can do
above.
this first and then have an else.
Yep. No, we're not gonna have an else. It's just gonna be
Well,
the first. It's gonna be the
first. Do that.
No. It's gonna be the first. If it's not game, we want to guarantee something.
Oh, right. Sorry, I just put it in here.
Just right in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can do that very early, right? We can do that.
The earliest we can do it is right here. Or I think this is where it makes sense to do it, I should say.
Sure. Yep.
Because this is where we've already got.
As soon as we see a type that's not game.
So now we just want to say if games length 0 is an empty array truthy or falsy?
I think you just want to say if games is triple equal the empty list.
Okay, that is fine as well, I guess. Actually, does that even work in JavaScript?
I can check.
Yeah, because with the stuff I was working on like 2 weeks ago or whatever, comparing lists typically doesn't work with the triple equals.
Oh, that's right.
But maybe with the empty list, it does work, you know?
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me in JavaScript. They're like, yeah, we made it work with the empty list. It just doesn't work with any other kind of list.
Let's check. Node empty list triple equals empty list false.
Well, I mean, length equals 0 is basically the same thing as that. So if we're like, the only problem with length equals 0 is it doesn't check like. That's fine, right? I mean, if it doesn't have length, if it's not an array, then this will also throw an error.
Yeah, dot length. Let's see.
That is, I'm pretty sure how you do it.
Yes. Yep.
How have you been doing these? Throw new error and then a string. So like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Cannot create non-game definition without list of game addresses submitted. Something like.
I would say something like missing required game addresses.
Okay, sure.
or just even say dollar games or invalid game addresses dollar games.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that just is like, I guess, for type, just to make it clear that like this type requires some games.
Right.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
You okay with this weird format?
Yeah, I like that.
It has all the right things on the right
Yep.
lines.
Yep.
Just funky looking.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I like it.
So now we need to go back down and deal with this stuff. So we're creating this definition. That should work now.
Right.
Now these we
will
need to include here. We need to include the result of this.
Right. So just say like game address equals.
Right. None of this stuff is async, of course, so we don't need to deal with any of that. So we can just say let game address equal.
And that can be a const.
Right. Here we go. Game address.
And that needs to be named because it's being destructured. So that needs to be named games. Yeah. Yep.
And this is also gonna. Well, this will also want that.
Right. The format needs the game address. Yep. Games game address. Yep.
That looks good. Should be good.
That looks good.
Then we just need to. Oh, right. We didn't actually make this function. Did we make this function? We didn't.
Nope.
So we need to do that as well.
Yep.
But that we can do in the SDK.
Yes.
I think.
Because the SDK is calling this mock.
Let's go do that. Yeah.
Yep.
SDK. Oh wait, but this we mean the Metastore.
Oh, the Metastore API. Yeah.
Yeah, this is getting imported into the SDK. Okay,
Yep.
so where should we put it? Just down here.
Yeah.
Async function. What did we call it? Get game formats.
I think so. Yep.
So, and we just wanted game address,
Game
right?
address. Yep.
Return, await, call. It's just going to be a bunch of these, I suppose. Although I don't. It's probably not. Is it going to be one? Yeah, it is going to be one. We just need to construct the right name. Const catalog name. Right. So what we're going to want here. In fact, actually, we could just call one of these functions for it. Right.
Yes.
All we're doing here
Yep.
is constructing the right name and then calling get definitions from catalog.
With the correct name. Yep. The correct type and correct name. Yep. So yeah, we probably don't even need the const. We can just do it all in one line on 75. Get definitions from catalog. Format. Actually, so here's what I kind of like to do for these. It's nice to have a function for formats and a function for components as a user. But as an implementation, there's no reason to duplicate that work. So we can make a sort of intermediate one that is async function get game definitions. Hold on. You don't need to reproduce that either. You can just call the get definitions from catalog function.
Oh, right, of course. course.
So, but again, we're gonna do above this function. Well,
Right. I'm just assuming that what I'm writing now is going to go in the
into that one. Yeah.
into that one.
Okay.
Catalog type.
So that's going to be the type component type.
I don't have the type.
Well, right. Well, we're going to write another. Hold on. We're going to write a more generic function than this, just slightly more generic. Yeah. Get game definitions.
Game definitions?
Yes.
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going with that.
Right. So this is going to take a game address
and a type
and a type. Yep. And a definition type, or def type, you could say. Yep. And then that just calls get definitions from catalog. Yep. With def type, and then the catalog name that we.
And then.
Yeah. Game address. Def type. Catalog. And then get game formats calls get game definitions with game address and the constant format. And then we can very easily do, components. Yep.
All right, and now we just need to export these.
Yes, get game formats and get game components. Yep.
Get game components.
And might as well do get game definitions.
Sure.
It's a lower level function, but it might be useful. Yep. Sweet.
All right. So now this maybe will work, basically.
I believe so.
What we already put here. Let us see what we get. Aha, cannot read property length of undefined. Oh, it's hash. It's the hash. Where's that? Okay.
So I think
index.
I think what's wrong is that we're not doing the. I'm going to look at JavaScript default.
Create definition. It's
default parameters.
Happening. Create definition.
We're not doing our default parameters correctly. So I'm Googling this. Default parameter, num equals 1. Is it maybe that just wasn't saved?
Yeah, maybe something wasn't saved.
Let's see.
Because that doesn't seem like a weird error. No, it's still getting that.
Default parameters destructuring. It might be different in destructuring, I guess. Destructuring default value.
31. Really?
Yeah, no, I think it looks like that should work.
This is where we're getting the error on entry address.
Entry address definition. Oh, what's
saying
line 31?
So the end error is type error cannot read property length of undefined.
Right.
Which is happening in the SHA-256.
Okay.
Which is happening in entry address, which is happening in create definition.
Okay, so what are we passing in as a definition to entry address?
Yeah, something incorrect apparently.
Well, let's just console log it right there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, undefined, apparently,
Okay.
somehow.
Okay. So what is the call? Where's that call to that?
Yeah, this is the first one, so it's
Okay.
got to be this one somehow.
All right. Oh, definition, because it's destructured.
Oh,
Right. We're just passing the game, and then another set of open brackets.
right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why can there be so many brackets?
And then another on 150. Yeah, that's it.
Such a
That's
mess.
it.
All right. Well, that worked. Now we're getting can read property for each of at the 152, which it also thinks is undefined. At 152.
Mock.js 152.
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
So somehow the structure is screwed up here.
Ah.
For each of undefined. Doesn't look undefined.
Yeah, that looks.
It looks
right.
okay. That's a weird one. Maybe I'm reading the error wrong.
Can I see?
Yeah. I will take the extra time to show you this. Okay.
Just curious. Uncut type error. Mock.js 176.
This is, I mean, it's
152. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Object.
definitely somehow this.
Yeah.
Or it's the for each call that's causing the error.
Right.
Ah,
Let's go back.
yeah.
Maybe we're missing a closing bracket from the structure above. No, that looks right. That all looks right. Try just setting that list to a name. You know what I mean? Like on 152 saying components equals.
Yeah.
Const components equals, yeah. Components stuff for each. Yeah. Yeah.
And this should be undefined.
I mean, it shouldn't be.
Right, but I mean, if
Yeah, if
the error seems to think it is.
we did.
But it isn't.
We did something that.
Yeah, we fixed it.
Okay.
That fixed the problem somehow.
Okay.
Now we're getting invalid game addresses for format, which is the error we just wrote. But
Undefined?
no. So I'll show you again.
Okay.
So now we're getting a lot of stuff console logged because of all that stuff.
Yep.
Quicker. So this is all from create definition, I think, all these console logs.
Yeah.
So here's the format. Standard components games is an array with what looks like a valid address.
Yep.
So, but it doesn't think so somehow.
Invalid game addresses for format. Let's go look at that error. Like where we throw that. And let's take out our other logs and then start adding some new ones there.
Yeah. That's the main culprit, I think. This one's like this. So that error is happening up here somewhere. Right there.
Okay. So it thinks games.length is equal to 0.
Yeah.
Games, yeah.
See what we get from that. So it is 0 on the very last one here. So we just, seems like we just screwed something up with this.
On the very last one?
It's funny. It looks normal.
So hold on. On the games, when it does the games one, it'll be 0. Oh, you see it?
It does the games one? No, but I think I do see what it is.
Okay, good.
I think we put the games list inside definition here. I put the games list inside definition, but it should be outside definition.
Yes. Yes.
Should be here.
Yep.
That I bet will fix it.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what it looks like is happening. Okay. Yeah. Now we're getting an error that it totally makes sense. So now we're getting squad chess address is not defined because we put that in here. Right, we wrote squad chess address, but we never.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
We never told it what that is.
Fantastic.
So that's of course that's not going to work because we never told it what that is. So
right.
So what is squad chess address?
So we got to get the game catalog.
Right. So this is where we don't actually have a good way. This is the thing that the developer would just have to get from us.
Would have to know. Yep.
Manually, and then they would just put it into their application's config.
Yep. So we happen
we're
to
submitting it here, so we need to just get it kind of brute force.
Yeah. Well, we're logging it already, so we should just look at it. Yeah.
We're already getting the games catalog, so it should just be the first thing in the game catalog.
Yep.
So let's just say
the only thing.
Right. Also that. So let's just say games 0.
So this isn't gonna work because you got this dot then. So you're setting games to be the result of dot then, which is going to be undefined.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's not going to change because it's content addressed basically. So it's a hash of the content. So we can just go look in our console and copy and paste it.
Fair enough.
Because I think that's how it's just less dynamic. If we change anything about the game definition, it's going to be
just this one address.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's see if that works. Yep, there you go.
Sweet.
I'm just going to take out some of these other console logs.
Sure.
Can you do then nothing? Does it still work?
You can just not call then. Oh.
Well, but we need to call then because they're async functions.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Let's see.
It feels like it won't work. It feels like cheating.
You can cheat in JavaScript.
You certainly can.
All of JavaScript is cheating.
Yep, it worked.
Sweet.
We're still console logging this all the time, though. Oh, that's from the other thing, right? Right? We were trying to get the formats, right?
Yes.
Yeah, get game formats, and here we got a list of formats, one long with one format called standard.
Great. That's all we expect.
I'm just going to get rid of the other console log in mock that's still here somewhere, so that we don't get confused by that. And then I will reload it and show you what we have.
Sweet.
So that you can make sure that this is doing what we want it to do. That
Sweet.
looks correct to me.
Sweet.
I think the only console log left we have, well, the only one we have left is the get game formats call. And apparently .then just open close parentheses
Totally works.
works. That's so it's so funny that I've never seen that anywhere then, because that feels like a very easy way of just dealing with async stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's ugly, but
Yeah.
you're right.
I guess it doesn't get you around. Sometimes you need to nest that stuff. And
Right.
It doesn't
That's what's hard.
get you out of that
That's
problem.
what's hard. Yeah. Yeah. So.
It's hard and it's like absolutely, hideous.
Yeah. It's when you need values out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's about 1:20.
Yeah, I'm super hungry, so I
Okay.
would be happy to be done.
Cool.
Um,
I think this is.
but where are we at here?
Yeah, I think the next steps are going to be adding some chess mocks definitions.
Right. So we didn't finish this to do.
Right.
We wanted to be able to load, the components that we want
Yep.
to be in there, and then actually put them on the board. Right. So
Right.
we want to at least mock that works. Right.
Right.
So put in some components in there that are the kinds of that will be somehow usable
Right.
By the board, and
Yep.
then there's going to be some kind of interpretation that the UI does to get from
Yep.
a component a definition to the piece data type that it's using.
Right.
Which is not super trivial because it includes things like what image it should display.
Right. So there's a lucky thing about browsers and images. Images don't always have to be links to sources. There's a base 64 image type. And especially for small images, we can just put the entire image in the component definition.
That would be cool. And this would actually be perfect for that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
They're just black and white.
Yep.
Right. They're relatively small and they're black and white. So
Yep.
I'm sure it would be very simple.
Yep.
Now, I think it's fine for us to just reference the image files that are already in the app, and just have local.
Sure.
Just reference those because that's already there.
Are they being served by anything though?
They're just in the app, I think.
Oh, I see. They are in the app. Yeah.
They're just in the app. Like they're just being compiled.
And they have names, and they're being packed up by Webpack.
They're packed by Webpack into the file structure.
Yeah. So if we just know what those are supposed to be, then
right. And that's
we can
we'll
make our
want
mock
some of those
components
other
in,
options almost certainly, but I do think that a lot of this will be done this way, where the game, whoever's making the game will just put in basically all the images, that all the common images people will want, so that they're just there.
Yep.
But of course,
that's a
for
really good point.
Games, components will have to have some references to whatever, even sounds and stuff like that.
Yeah. So this is actually a question I don't really have any good ideas about yet, because we haven't gotten deep enough into a game to know that. Like, what about the component creator that wants to sell what's it called when they sell stuff that just makes your stuff look cool?
Cosmetics.
Cosmetics.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody wants a cosmetic chess piece.
Yeah.
And is that its own component? Is that something else? I want to get.
Yeah, that actually is something worth us thinking about, because kind of the original idea for us was like, hey, we can do what Valve is doing with cosmetics, but it doesn't have to be just cosmetics, right? It could be the whole component. It could be the whole Dota hero. But if it's the whole Dota hero, then how do you sell cosmetics if you want to? Which is clearly a thing people doing.
Right. In some sense, you need modular components, or pluggable component pieces.
It's sort of the thing that you mentioned a while ago, where a definition is actually a definition plus a
Yes.
definition or
Yes.
something like that,
Is
right?
either
So
a
that
definition or a definition and a definition.
right, so that
Yeah.
that I think plays nicely with the other rules
Yeah.
in the context of cosmetics because
Yeah.
then let's say I want to build a cosmetic for your piece that you submitted with a
Right.
basic
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Now I can build on that, maintain still giving you credit,
Yep.
and also make money off my cosmetic,
Yep.
right? And we'll
And
both make money
and
off
we
of it.
both have licenses. And
Right. And
my
it
license
just
says you can
combines
use
our
the
two
mechanics in
licenses.
my piece for this amount of money. And your
Right.
license says you can use this. So the thing that's tough about that is that you want to be able to add cosmetics to a format after the format has been made.
That's true. So for formats, it's tricky. How
Well,
would it work with
we're
formats?
right.
Um,
So there need to be like
because that's a
some
new component
like
now.
empty holes in a component that are sort of like free form after the fact. So that's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. It's going to be an interesting technical problem, but I think
Right. Actually, yeah. So another way of dealing with it would be links to components, right?
oh sure,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
that like you can link a component to another component
Yep.
if um,
If the game will follow
if
that link for you.
right, and
Yeah.
also you can only even submit it to the metastore if one of the two, if you've included that component as one of the
Yeah.
part of the definition or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and maybe that's not necessary, but
Yeah.
then my format could keep the same list, but
Yep.
also look up the links to those components to find their,
Dynamically. Yep.
cosmetic,
Yep.
same rules, different
And it
cosmetic
and the
stuff.
the game developer has the option of allowing certain things to change after the format has been submitted. And so
Right.
that's like maybe this is a format that is actually just like changing all the time. Like the rules of the format, the components in the
That's a
format
really
are
cool idea too,
right?
right? Like it's like this format lets
Right.
in it's like
Yeah.
dynamic piece list. Like each of
Right.
the pieces
Right.
has its own range of what it can be or whatever.
Sure.
Like
Right.
that's a crazy thing,
Right.
right?
Right. 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 Or
Yeah, I mean, this is where you get into like, okay, there's so many possibilities that
I know.
it's really not useful for us to speculate on what the most useful ways of doing that
No,
are.
but I think
Um,
writing, implementing something for cosmetics in a general way that can be implemented for anything will
yes,
allow game
I agree.
developers to like play around and find cool
Yeah, I think
things.
that's a great idea because it's a proven revenue model.
Yeah, totally,
You know,
100%. Yep, yep,
people want to see something like that.
yep.
Okay, cool. Did you want to talk about some of that licensing stuff that you
Um,
were
I
exploring
I
before we finished?
do. It's and I actually have time and energy, but also like
I'm down to
we're
talk
over.
about it for a few, but I definitely
Okay,
don't want to go too much.
sure,
Like, I don't want to go for another hour,
sure,
for
sure, sure,
sure,
sure, sure. Okay,
unless we take a break, because I'm just hungry.
yeah. So I've got a diagram. I'm gonna take a photo of it and put it in Discord.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a
How should
few.
we show it on the stream?
Uh,
Can you use the share
oh, I
window
have
thing?
my Discord is what's being shared, so I should be able to just put it in Discord and look at it there. Let's see how it. Let's
Oh, okay, cool.
if you're still hanging out, this is the after party. It's gonna get a little nutty.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to my regular camera then.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna take my headset off for just a second, get some photos, and then we'll take a look.
Okay, cool.
All right. So I'm just gonna put up the drawing. So it's a drawing with a bunch of like semi-handwritten paragraph notes around it.
Okay.
I've got photographs of all of that, but my handwriting is what it is, and so maybe not. Maybe it's better for me just to like reference over there and talk through it. But we've got the photos if we want to.
That sounds good.
So yeah, that's the one.
The stream mirrors. What's going on?
So that the streamer is comfortable, I think, is used to seeing themselves as they're used to seeing themselves. Sees themselves as they're used to, like in a mirror.
I guess.
I think that's what's happening.
Yeah. But does that mean it does it for everything? Like games
Text?
too?
Yeah, that's
Well,
actually
not
interesting.
text. I mean, right? Like if I held up, if I held up
Yeah,
text,
interesting. All right, so
something
here's
like that. That's
can
confusing.
you see this drawing?
I'm gonna look at it in Discord.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
it is a little bit hard to read.
yeah. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do here is come up with a solid model of how value flows into the system. Not necessarily just how values flow from players to contributors, because I think we understand that really well already. But how could some of that value flow into into funding platform development, right? Like, how do we get paid
Right. Yeah.
to continue building this platform? Is it just that we're building a platform that we are going to become good contributors in and make all our money as contributors? That's totally possible. But then also, what about some sort of DAO, some sort of terms of service, some sort of governance model? How does that governance get paid for? And
Yeah.
I have a theory. So the way we could make money on this, like as the platform founders, I think we should just give the platform away 100% for free, and use that to earn trust and build businesses on that trust. The total pure 100% Seth Godin theory. Build something really valuable and give it away for free, and use the only, like, attention isn't even scarce anymore, but trust is. So build trust, give the thing away for free, this valuable thing away for free, and help people build games and build tools for people building games and sell those, like convenience things. So there we sort of fit in between, like, contributors and definitions there in the bottom right, just as individuals who have built this thing. But then there's the question of the DAO, how it gets funded, and how it funds future platform development, and how it funds maintenance of the terms of service, all of that stuff. So there's got to be some model of reputation to contributors, because I think you and I have talked about this a lot. We want the DAO to be dominated by people who have a stake in the system, right?
I mean, it should be basically populated only by people who have a stake in the system.
Yeah,
But
and not just investors who have put a ton of money in.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we want a way to award contributors for successful participation. Not just participation, but successful participation. So if their definitions get bought, they get reputation.
We want contributors whose definitions get bought more,
Yes,
to have more stake
Yes.
in the system,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
and also someone who contributes a lot and maybe isn't quite as successful, like
Yep.
they should also continue to get more.
Yeah.
But
I think we'll probably want to use some sort of quadratic formulas for that dispersal.
yeah,
I think it may be even we quadratically fund contributors with reputation based on players purchasing definitions. So each player's
that does make
purchase
sense to me.
is a vote for a contributor to have reputation, and that
Yeah.
is that uses quadratic funding, something like
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense to me. And that should be very doable.
Yeah. Oh,
because
totally.
We can generate we can just generate all those events on
Yep.
Ethereum, and then
Yep.
all we have to do is look at the events.
Yep. So now the question is, how does money? I don't think contributors just like pay a certain percentage to the DAO. So I've got this idea of, and it kind of goes back to our idea of the funding receipt, where how do you get a stable price for a curved bond, where like you just want to charge $10 for your game. You have this funding receipt thing. You pay $10 in to this contract. The contract buys $10 worth of the coin and burns it.
Right.
But you've got this funding receipt where you've just bought this thing, and it's that thing that lets you play the game.
Yes.
So same idea. I think in purchasing a game, that thing would be an NFT and it would be transferable. In this situation, it would be a funding receipt and it would be non-transferable.
It doesn't even have to be an NFT necessarily. It just has to be a token.
A token, yeah, sure. A stably priced token.
Right. But I'm saying like it can be any ERC20. Like
right. Yes.
I think
that's
it can
right.
be fungible.
That's true.
Like,
that's
receipts can be fungible unless
right.
there's some other reason.
That's true. That's true.
They shouldn't be.
Yep.
You know, and actually there may be a reason, because in real life receipts are not fungible.
Right.
Like,
so
I can't exchange receipts with you.
Right.
Like they're not the same.
So this funding receipt.
That's for refunds.
This funding receipt would not be an ERC20. It would not be transferable. And so a couple of the properties I think we can get from this is A, Sybil resistance, sort of soft Sybil resistance, and B, rewarding contributors for putting more skin in the game. So when we make the mechanics of this would be, obviously there's some ERC20 continuous funding curve for the DAO that has the difference between the buy curve and the sell curve, and that difference funds the DAO.
Is this you're talking about just the main entire squad DAO?
Yes.
Or Set Match Games DAO. It seems like we're calling it just a squad though.
So I think, Set Match Games, we're gonna have to understand what Set Match Games is and what squad is.
Right.
But I think this is all squad. Yeah.
Right now, just so you know where my head's at, it seems like squad is the platform and Set Match Games is the Ezra and Jesse company.
Yes. Yeah. Set Match Games is the company that will do that consulting and will have that.
And will hopefully be known for having built squad.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Which is
totally.
a valuable
exactly.
thing, but will not be squad.
And we will earn trust as having been the people who built squad.
Right.
But this DAO is a squad DAO. It's a squad governance DAO.
Yeah.
Right. So all of the funding for this comes from this continuous funding ERC20 curved bond. A single curved bond just for the DAO. It's not on the squad platform.
And somehow so like what you're saying that some amount is getting bought out of that curve every time someone buys out of any of the other curves, sort of.
So you can
are nested somehow.
Right. So you can have a different buy curve and sell curve. So
right. But I'm saying like when someone buys a game, they're not buying out of the main squad.
No. Nope. When they're buying a game, they're all over here in the Squad Games platform. That has nothing to do with this.
Oh, this is so. What's who's buying out of this?
I'm getting there. Contributors are buying out of that curve bond. So
this is like investments, basically.
Yeah. So investors, just straight up like bag holders, like to the moon bros, can just buy this ERC20.
Right.
Because they love what we're doing and they believe in it and they think we're going to the moon. But contributors, we build into the system a benefit for contributors to buy a funding receipt at a given level. That funding receipt buys and burns the ERC20.
In the same way that this was what confused me.
Yeah. It's the same mechanism.
It's the same mechanism, but it's not. It is a separate curve.
It's a separate curve. It's a completely independent curve, and the only difference in the mechanism is that it's non-transferable.
right, and they can they can buy any amount and get the
Yeah.
funding receipt for that.
Well, they can buy any
Like,
number of funding receipts. Right.
or okay,
So
I
a
guess it
funding,
doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a funding receipt
they're the
is a
same
fixed
thing.
price, and the benefit of having multiple fund receipts compounds your benefit.
Right, right, right.
So
It's just a way of sort of stabilifying
yeah, the
the
price.
curved bond
Yeah.
without getting rid
Also,
of the benefits of the curved bond.
right, and also making it non-transferable,
Right.
which is important for civil resistance. So when a contributor creates a definition, they have an option in that same transaction to buy the first n tokens. However many tokens they want, they get
Right,
to
right,
buy
right.
those. It's the cheapest they'll ever be. It's
Yep.
it's as good as staking,
Zero, right?
right?
Yeah.
Um, but and I think this might mean we have to dictate the curve completely, and I think that's probably fine. But if these funding receipts give them a discount for that initial buy,
Yeah, as I was just about to say, this is clever.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, I think I see what you're saying. It's like, yeah, you could
it
do it that way.
shifts.
You could probably do it either direction, right? You could,
Yeah.
what I was thinking you were going to say, which is seems like it's effectively the same thing,
Okay.
was um, when the contributor submits
Yeah.
and they can say, I want the first n
Yeah.
tokens of my contribution.
Yeah.
That instead of those being free, there's actually a very small set price.
Yeah.
And contributors have to pay that price, but it's buying them funding receipts.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Sure.
And the DAO would set what that very small price is.
Right. Right.
And basically, it would have the function that I think you're going towards, which is like contributors are then incentivized to buy more of their own component if they think it's going to do well as normal.
Yes.
But the more they buy, the more they're now staked into the system,
And the more they're
really
funding,
the
the
more
more they're
we're
funding the DAO,
recognizing their stake.
right?
Right.
The more
And
they're
also the more they're funding the DAO.
and the more they're giving just to the Moon Bros incentive to buy early.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think so. Yeah, the method that I had was like what we've got right now. The initial transaction for contributing a component still asks you to pay full price for the sort of low end of the curve.
But what do you mean? What is full price?
It's whatever the curve is.
Right. I guess, which is just
Right.
a
So
thing
if it's
that
linear, the first
they
one
choose
costs
or
1,
whatever.
the second one costs 2, the third one costs 3. Right.
Right.
So, and they can buy as many as they want, or whatever amount of those as they want. But if they have a funding receipt, it for that one transaction, the curve shifts and gets shallower.
Right.
So each curve is going to be different, but only based on the discount that was given to that first transaction. And that discount can be quadratically improved by buying more funding receipts. And so what
What do you mean quadratically improved?
we don't want. I don't think you want a linear improvement. So the first like level, the first each amount, like 10% of a 10% discount, say.
You just mean like that the discount goes down the more you buy, or
Yeah. The more funding receipts to buy, the more discount you get. Obviously, it doesn't go down to 0. It's a percentage every time.
Oh, okay.
And
I
so
see.
it's
So you're saying
diminishing
the
returns.
more what you get from the number of funding receipts
Right.
goes down quadratically.
So here's where the Sybil resistance comes
The
in.
difference between one funding receipt and two funding receipts is greater than 10
Right.
funding receipts.
Right.
and 20.
Let's say one funding receipt is 50%, two funding receipts is 75%.
Right.
3 is 80, whatever. It's
Right.
some quadratic function. Now, this encourages contributors to maintain a single address. Because
Because it's
they're only
having
one address.
funding receipts at five different addresses
is a waste
it's
of money.
not as good.
Right, because only one address at any given time can be in that very first transaction.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's the only one that can buy it. And so if you're going to buy 4 receipts, you want to put them all on one. And
yes, very good.
And only people, and so people, contributors who believe in their future contributions will buy funding receipts.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The only question I have right now about this is you want this sounds like it's about always getting people to buy more, but it's not about that. It's about you want the voting power in the commons system to always reflect the stake of all the different stakeholders, right? To be as accurate as you can among all the stakeholders. Which means that if I'm a contributor and I continue to contribute over years and I keep getting more and more success and building more stuff over time, my stake should also increase along with that. But in this system, I might just decide like, well, once I have this many funding receipts, I'm getting a discount I'm perfectly happy with, and I don't feel the need to get more. So my stake won't look like it's going up, will it?
So I think reputation. I don't know what you mean by stake in this.
I mean reputation.
Okay, so reputation. You're not buying reputation with funding receipts.
Oh, okay.
Your reputation comes from the success of your contributions.
Okay, so these are just separate things.
They're separate things, right? Contributors who believe in the future success of their contributions will be incentivized to buy funding receipts.
Okay, so you're just completely separating decision power and investment.
Yes. They are only connected in the belief in individual contributors of their future potential in the system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's an argument to be made that like there's still a place in a system like this for investors to have some voting power.
Sure.
And for it just to be limited, so that maybe there should be some connection between funding receipts and voting power.
Right. Well, I mean, so maybe there's 2 ways to do it. You can buy reputation. maybe there's a contribution funding receipt and a reputation funding receipt. And the reputation funding receipt buys only, like, it's just much less. There's only 20% of all reputation at any given time that's available through that. And a funding receipt only gets you a certain percentage of it. And only when contributors earn more reputation will that source of just purchasing reputation become available, something like that.
Yeah, or maybe I don't actually think it's that much of an issue. I mean, there's always a way. It's giving straight up investors some fraction of voting power is like that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like we know there's just a million ways to do that. It's extremely simple. You don't even have to care about civil resistance. Like it's
token holders have. There is a anytime reputation is made, 20% is distributed evenly to token holders.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's just like we can not include it. We can include like that's always easy to include. I think so. The interesting thing is like how do you get for the more complicated types of stakeholders, the contributors, the worker, the people that are doing the stuff,
and maybe even the players.
I think players as well. But although I would really expect a tiny portion of players to be interested in participating in governance, but I think you want that option to be there, right? Because look at real life ecosystems. There are super, it's like saying basketball players don't want to be involved in like deciding the rules of basketball. They just want to play basketball. Yeah, that's true until you get to the NBA. And then those players they want to. They're just players.
Ninja cares about that stuff,
right? About the policies of Twitch, and stuff like that, right?
And Fortnite.
I mean, I think that in this case, it would be like the interesting question when you're thinking about Twitch or YouTube would be like, should viewers have a vote?
Sure.
Right? And it's like, it seems like they should have a vote, right? But they should obviously have less of a vote than Ninja.
Right.
Ninja doesn't even use Twitch.
So I want to point out that a few things that aren't on here. And I started with them on here. first is money from tournament organizers.
Mm.
I don't think they're any different from players.
I think they're a type of player,
Yeah,
right? Or at least if we end up representing tournament rights as a way of interacting with the components in the system or the definitions in the system, right?
yeah,
Like it's something that's talked about in the licensing rules of
yeah,
the game or whatever,
yeah,
then they're sort of in the same category as players.
yeah. And I think tournament organization is just, well, first of all, Nintendo is the only one that doesn't want you to organize tournaments for free. I mean, like
Yeah.
like if you've got a tournament, like awesome, great.
Yeah.
We want that. Um, the other thing that's not on here is the power for the DAO to remove components.
Okay. I didn't think that was a
Yeah, I had that in here originally.
omission of purposeless. I thought
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just it doesn't need to be written in this
Right,
diagram.
right. No.
Still are interested in it.
So
I mean, the DAO can still have powers like that.
well, what the DAO has is the terms of service. So the DAO maintains the state of the terms of service, and that relies 100% on meat-based legal system.
I am 100% down for that as the current model for this because anything more than that is asking a lot of a DAO.
Well, and it's also it's like the internet doesn't have that, and what we're making is more like the internet than it is like Twitter. And the reason that's the case is because the internet is decentralized, and all of the actors are responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
According to some legal system, and the DAO can write the agreement that you are legally agreeing to when you participate as a contributor or as a host, as a member of the Metastore hosting. But it's actually up to every individual person that makes up the Metastore to say, I am or I am not going to host this content. And they need to be allowed to refuse to host certain definitions.
Right. Yeah.
Like people on the internet, like say Twitter is responsible for hosting the content because they are hosting the content. And therefore they are responsible for removing bad content.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think we need to give Metastore hosts really good tools for doing that well.
Yeah,
and
censoring their own Metastore.
And one of those tools is the terms of service, and I think we need to do work really hard to curate the culture early and to make it a strong one and to put it into the DAO and to make sure the early contributors who are powerful in that DAO are of that culture, and that's by being really strict as the early Metastore hosts at kicking things off. But that would be our role as a Metastore host, not our role as a developer of the platform.
Yeah. Well, and of course, like you're also dealing with, then there's all the games that use the system, and some of those games may use centralized servers, and there's going to be a big melting pot of various opportunities to, as in real life, affect speech acts. And some spaces will have a lot of centralized control over them, while others won't. Others will be very up to the individual people, and sometimes that'll have a large effect on the gestalt, and sometimes it won't. I think that the strength of the biggest strength of having the DAO control just the terms of service is that it gives the DAO a very, very clear job.
Yeah.
That's not complicated.
Right.
Just maintain the state of one thing.
Right.
That should reduce the number of decisions the DAO has to make.
Right.
And just make it much clearer for new people coming in what's going on.
Yeah.
Like we're just proposing the terms of service change from this to this, like whatever. I also think it makes sense for the DAO to be able to like distribute funds that it has.
Well, yeah. So
ways,
fund platform development is this text up at the top, or anything else, right? It just becomes a grant making DAO. Also,
I also think it's totally legit and maybe should be even built in as a like one of the like again sort of simple boilerplate like press the button and the DAO does this
Yep.
functions
Yep.
is just distributing it pro rata to all the reputation holders.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Just dividends for all the co-owners.
If that's what we want to
You know?
fund, just like we want to fund ourselves a little more because
Exactly. Yeah.
we don't.
It's just, and that's, you want that, right? You want, that's like when you're a member of REI or whatever,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
you get a little $20 at the end of the year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like basically nothing, but
Yeah.
but that's a concrete representation that you are a co-owner of this system, that
Yes.
you have, you know,
You're an
hands on the
executive.
means of production here.
Like
you
you're
know?
on the board of directors.
Right, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing, I think. But
And that the exciting thing about that to me is that this is actually, it seems to be actually sort of undermining and what's the term for that?
disrupting.
Disrupting executive leadership.
Right, and disrupting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disrupting the current corporate orthodoxy.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
like it's saying, you know what, if you model things this way, you get actually a more effective
Yeah.
organization than if you just only value shareholders who
Yep.
just buy their shares
Yep, yep.
independently and are
Yep.
you know, wealthy or
Yep.
whatever, or you know, securities and professional investors or whatever, right? Like,
So
this is actually a system that will work better than that.
So I think there
Yeah.
are a couple of other parameters that the DAO maintains. First of all, I think we do have to have like the discount rate,
Right.
the cost of the funding receipts, certainly the reputation token distribution.
I wonder if we can do the reputation token in a similar way to the funding receipts, where just like I haven't figured this out totally in my head, but
Yeah.
so I'm a contributor, right? I'm contributing things.
Yeah.
Whenever I contribute something, I can buy some funding receipts, or I could buy some tokens and use my funding receipts as coupons. That's like what we said so far. And at some point, I'm like, okay, I don't really need to buy any more funding receipts, or like,
Yeah.
I have as many as I want.
My discount is
But-
the right level for my belief in my future in this.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But maybe the amount that you're buying at that point, maybe, or maybe the whole time, the amount of your own stuff that you're buying can have something to do with how much reputation you're getting or something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, I mean the reputation equation has some tunable parameters, and the DAO should be able to tune those.
Yeah. Although I think I'm getting ahead of myself. We should just start with what we said earlier of just like transaction events.
Yep. Contributors gain reputation proportional to their success in the system.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And I think the DAO also, given this like discount thing, we need to implement a curve that can offer a discount on the first and like shift itself, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which
it
means
is worth noting that, like, as is the case often, there's still a way to buy influence, right? Like, you can contribute something and then just buy a shit ton of it yourself, right?
Yep.
Which is I think not necessarily, that's not a fatal problem.
No, especially if it's quadratic.
It is a vote for exactly.
Yeah.
It is a vote for doing it quadratic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure that'll happen. I mean, I'm sure a lot. Let's say Blizzard, if Blizzard as a contributor,
right,
will buy. They've got a ton of money for marketing, a ton of money for investment in themselves, and a ton of money for funding receipts. So they buy a ton of funding receipts, buy a ton of the early stock in their game, and then also buy way more stock in their game to get influence in the DAO. And that has the secondary thing of when they start advertising, people come to a game that already looks super popular,
right,
according to the curation market.
Yeah.
So it seems worth. I mean, I think that is worth. We just want to make sure that the reputation holders aren't completely dominated by those actors.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to predict what will happen with
Yeah.
any of that stuff. We can't, it's just, yeah.
It does seem like this whole quadratic voting funding research is the answer, though, to
It's,
this
I
issue.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to call it the
I
answer
mean,
because it's not like,
yeah.
but it seems like
It feels clean.
one of the extremely rare, like fairly unambiguous upgrades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
it just seems better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there are still problems, but the things that it does better, it just seems to be better at, and it doesn't seem to be worse at
They're
anything.
just definitely better. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it just should be everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere it can be, it just should probably just be there
It is a
because
strict upgrade.
it's one of the only ways people have found to actually find a reasonable common ground between voting with your wallet
Yeah.
and one person, one vote, right?
Yeah.
Which both have important, important roles to play. Like the idea that every person is sort of equally a person, and
Yeah.
so therefore they should have an equal say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the idea that like if you just by default give everyone an equal say, a lot of people don't have anything to say, and you're noisifying your signal
Yep.
hugely, right?
Yep.
And so that's the argument for vote through a wallet, right? The people that will actually spend a lot are the people that have a
That
good
actually
reasons
that
for
care a
thinking what
lot.
they think or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
They care a lot, and they also are very confident.
Yes. Yep. Or are very, very rich, but
Yeah, or really, really rich, or
Yeah.
really, really stupid,
Yeah.
and those are always possibilities.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you're making the bet
we're not
that
we're
on
not
average,
solving
that's,
everything. Yeah,
you
we're
know,
not
yeah.
solving everything. So yeah, I think I want to
Yeah, I mean, I feel
I
like
want to write
it's a totally solid.
I want to write that up.
Model.
I think that's the basis of a white paper.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
And I'd like to write that up, get it scrutinized before we really go into implementing all of that stuff. I don't think
Yeah,
it'll take a
that's-
ton to implement once we do
good.
start doing that, but
Yeah, I think that one of the big unknowns in a system like this is the parts of it that depend on the meat space legal system.
Yep. Totally.
Like okay, so we make this terms of service, but what does enforcement actually mean? And
Right.
the same thing for licensing rules, right? Like
Yep.
okay, so especially at the beginning when maybe people don't really there isn't such an established like yeah, all you have to do is choose this licensing rule and then like people generally follow it because that's the precedent that's been set by various enforcement
Yeah.
events that have happened.
Somehow if the
Yeah.
license allows freelance lawyers to make a lot of money when you break it, that's where it goes.
And that's one of the other that does make me nervous, especially at the beginning, right? Because there isn't going to be any lots of money for those freelance lawyers to make off of it.
Yeah. So at the beginning we have to grow it with people who want to see it succeed, and at the beginning it'll be small enough that we'll be able to have some influence over that. Fewer strangers.
This is something where we can look at something like YouTube, where
Yep.
they have a copyright system, right? But I think it mostly only serves wealthy players. I don't think they're like relatively small YouTubers who are able to like go around copyright striking people that are stealing their content.
Right.
So yeah, just a good model to be like, okay, does this work? Does what YouTube is doing work well enough that we can assume?
No, I don't think it does. But what the freelance lawyer model works well. It doesn't care about the content creator. It cares about the thief. So it's good against wealthy thieves, but not against poor thieves.
Right. If it's this is the truly, lone gunslinger lawyer model where they are not even
they don't even have to ask.
Like
We're
they
just
don't even care about the client, right? It's just like
there's
this
no client
breaking the law, and I'll just take them to court and sue them. And
somebody,
which is like, is that a thing that has ever like?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
It's like a lawyer suing a hospital for malpractice with a class action suit, and but they don't have to find a client to do it.
Right. What they have to find is a client and a hospital that have signed an agreement that give them that power.
Right, but then they don't have to like trot out their client and be like,
Exactly. Yeah.
this
Yeah,
person suffered so much. They just be
Yeah.
like, yeah, you just broke the law, and it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm taking you to
I
court. Me,
found
the
it,
lawyer.
so
You
I
know?
get
Yeah.
this money. Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
I'm not going to be confident is even possible until I talk to
Right.
lawyers.
Yeah. No,
about it.
totally. You're right. Yeah. Feels like
But
it should.
some version of that is certainly possible.
Yep.
Maybe they do need the clients, but then whatever. But yeah, we'll just have to see
Yeah.
how that plays out
Yeah.
in the real world, because
Yeah.
I don't know exactly.
That's the Wild West.
Yeah, and there are people working on decentralized court stuff as well, so we can keep an eye on that as well. Aragon is doing that, and Claros is doing that.
Okay, cool.
Those are gigantic. I mean, it's like, they've built a whole little crypto economic model like this.
Yeah.
That's trying to like to
boil the ocean,
jury court stuff, right?
Yeah.
On any possible thing. So it's
Yeah.
like their machine has to end up working as well. But if
Yeah.
it does work, then they're meant to be able to sort of be plugged into other things. So
cool. Sweet.
That's something that I think is also possible. It's not in this plan right now.
Yeah,
This plan is saying
yeah.
MeatSpace will deal with it.
Right.
But I think if MeatSpace doesn't deal with it, it might be possible to just say,
to plug in other
hey,
courts.
this DAO can do things. It can censor stuff in some way.
Yep.
And
right.
anybody can just flag something and then send it to this court system or whatever. And
right. Cool.
It would be nice if that's not necessary.
It would.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is super solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
it feels good.
I think we can start working on it.
Cool.
I think it makes sense. I mean, I think it makes sense.
I'd if I heard it on a podcast, I would go buy some.
Yeah, there you go. That's the smell test. Right
That's the smell test. Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. Cool. Well, that sounds good.
Do it again next week.
I think we know what we're doing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good progress.
Yeah, definitely. Glad we were able to get around the bug. And continue.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm gonna reply to that issue and be like, hey, this was just because we were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Browser.
Yeah.
Which
hopefully that'll help somebody else who's having the same problem.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I will talk to you later.
I think we're good.
Have a good one.
Have we been streaming, or did we stop the stream?
No, we're still streaming.
Okay. Well, bye to the stream if there's anybody there.
I think there is. Bye, whoever's here. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week. I'm almost certain.
Yep.